Chapter 286. Cheetian Monkey King's rod pierced through the King of 100 Battles battle zone. His aura was monstrous, and no one dared to stand within dozens of meters. Xian Jiutian and Feng Ling were sneered. The crazy sect's performance had indeed shocked everyone. There were a total of 40 people, and the crazy sect occupied 10. The other human forces occupied 9, and the myriad races occupied 21. If they fought, it would be a problem whether the human race would be left with one. Emperor Ye's jade-like fingers plucked the strings of the Guqin, and a towering divine Guqin was formed. He stood on top of the Guqin, and his clothes fluttered behind him as he looked at the myriad races indifferently. Everyone from the crazy sect gathered beside Emperor Yi, and they drew their swords, unwilling to show weakness. Jian Qinxue took a light step forward, and snow fluttered in the wind, freezing everything within 10,000 miles. Everyone felt a sharp pain in their souls. Roar! The snow dragon roared. It was lifelike and stretched for thousands of miles. It was crystal clear as if it was real. Tiangong Shen and Feng Wuxia also stepped forward. Although they kept a certain distance, they were not on guard. This was much stronger than the myriad races. Ha, let's fight. It'll be fun if we fight. The parrot laughed. It was not afraid of the royal bloodline of the myriad races at all. The high-level bloodline did not suppress it at all. Everyone stared at the parrot. This scammer was famous. It definitely did not have good intentions if it wanted everyone to fight. The parrot shrank its head and stopped talking. It was not afraid of one expert. After all, Jian Qinxue was protecting it. With so many experts, it could be drowned in an instant. The King of 100 Battles battle zone was full of murderous intent. These real giants could fight at any time. If the other Dao Realm holy lands of the human race did not help the crazy sect might really be kicked out. Emperor Yi blocked the Enlightenment Divine Lotus in his mind. His eyes shot out destructive light, and a cold aura enveloped everyone. If you join forces, you might be able to kick the crazy sect out. But I can guarantee that your souls will definitely be destroyed, and it won't be as simple as being kicked out. Emperor Yi said coldly. Emperor Ye's will to protect was very strong. The crazy sect was her home, and the suzerain Yi Qin Han was her family. Whoever dared to provoke the crazy sect would be offending him. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Emperor Ye's stare gave them goosebumps, and they quickly distorted space to block the destructive aura. Cheetian Monkey King squinted his eyes and stared into Emperor Ye's eyes. He didn't distort space and allowed the light of destruction to taint his Dao body. However, the light of destruction didn't have any effect on him. It was extremely terrifying. It could be seen that he had also comprehended the great Dao of destruction. Xian Jiutian's black tortoise armor was actually able to block the light of destruction. He scoffed at Emperor Ye's battle prowess. With Emperor Ye's defense alone, Xian Jiutian would be able to kill Xian Jiutian as long as he got close. Xia Qiue's fingertips moved the hilt of her sword. She became one with the sword and stood indomitable. She was about to attack. Zhang Gu held his spear by his side, his fighting spirit soaring. Clearly, he did not want to stand by and do nothing. Yang Zhan looked at Zhang Ji's aura and knew that he would make a move. Naturally, he could not sit by and do nothing. After all, Zhang Gu was Yang Zhan's junior. You want a group battle? Count my Zhan family in. Yang Zhan and Zhang Gu stepped into the battle zone. Their battle intent stacked and they were extremely terrifying. Count my Tianlong sacred dynasty in as well. Xia Qiue dragged Xia Ziluo forward. Xia Ziluo was a little reluctant. Yi Qinghan's actions made her too angry. She did not fight with Jian Qinxue and took the initiative to leave the space to train. I, see Wuxia, am in. Boom. The golden blood suppressed the heavens and tore through the void. After a year of training in the space, Wuxia's soul had risen to the first layer of the immortal gate. It was the same as Yi Qinghan's realm. Wuxia descended like an emperor. He was now a young man with unparalleled vigor. He looked down on the myriad races and looked down on the heroes. However, when he arrived in front of Emperor Yi, he bowed slightly and cupped his fists. "Greetings, senior sister. Well, it's good that you're back." Emperor Yi opened his eyes again. The enlightenment divine lotus appeared and the light of destruction dissipated. The people of the Kuang sect had gathered. They were not afraid of the myriad races at all. The emperor's will still did not appear. It was as if it was looking forward to the battle between the myriad races and the crazy sect. Yi Qinghan looked from afar and clenched his fists. He wanted to go back and kill. "I want to go in. Is it possible?" Yi Qinghan asked the Azure Dragon Quasi-Emperor. As long as he nodded, he could go back and kill. The Azure Dragon Quasi-Emperor narrowed his eyes and looked at Yi Qinghan. He shook his head and replied faintly, "Impossible. Everyone can only go in once." Yi Qinghan clenched his fists and looked coldly at the King of 100 Battles area. He was a little worried about these little ones. Mu Yu, Tianchen, and himself were not here. It was a little difficult to rely on Emperor Yi, Gu Qingyu, and the others. The parrot was lying on Jian Qinshue's shoulder, shining brightly. It could see that the crazy sect was weak. There were a few people from the hidden families of the human race who were unwilling to fight. It did not want Jian Qinshuo to be kicked out. Otherwise, Yi Qinghan would roast it. Suppress the people from the crazy sect later. Don't snatch the treasure. It's my bait. The parrot told Emperor Yi and Jian Qinshuo. Whoosh, the parrot took advantage of the chaos and left the crowd. It rushed to the edge and took out a bottle containing a drop of 8th grade Qilin blood essence from its Qianquan ring. It opened the bottle cap and the Qilin Emperor's bloodline burst out into the sky, alarming the heroes thousands of miles away. Seeing that its goal was achieved, the parrot took away most of the Qilin blood essence, leaving only a little bit. It sealed the bottle cap and left it where it was. It then rushed out of the King of 100 Battles area and took a detour. It did not even dare to fly. It's the Qilin blood essence. It belongs to the Emperor's blood essence. The experts of the myriad races went crazy. Even Long Qiong went crazy. This was equivalent to the divine dragon's blood essence. Whoever got it would be able to soar into the sky. With the supreme royal bloodline, even the likes of Long Qiong and Xian Jiutian could increase their combat power by a level. Whoosh! In an instant, at least a dozen supreme experts of the myriad races pounced on the blood essence. The human race also moved, especially the experts of the hidden aristocratic families. They were extremely powerful and had superb martial skills. They could suppress the invincible king of battle with just a stretch of their hands. They tore the void apart and wanted to fight for the treasure with the experts of the myriad races. Xia Ziluo flew into the sky and distorted space. He wanted to reach out and grab the bottle, but the Qitian Monkey King scattered the space with a strike of his rod. Shi Gu relied on the golden brick and pounced on him without hesitation. Emperor Yi and Jian Qinshuo did not have time to stop him. The others also wanted to fight for it, but they were stopped by Emperor Yi and Jian Qinshuo. Boom boom boom, whoosh whoosh whoosh. True supreme experts of the same level were fighting. They all wanted to give up the qualification of the King of 100 Battles and leave after snatching the Qilin's blood essence. Their combat power soared to the extreme. The King of 100 Battles area was instantly in chaos. There was no longer any distinction between the myriad races. Those who could fight for the Qilin's blood essence would not even recognize their own brothers, let alone those from other races. The void kept collapsing, and the earth was moving up and down. It was extremely terrifying. The Qitian Monkey King's rod smashed onto an invincible king, almost cutting his opponent's soul in half and eliminating him. It was too chaotic at this time. If one was not careful, they would be eliminated. Long Qiong transformed into her true form. Her huge golden body swept towards everyone. Her 5 claws tore through space and grabbed at the bottle. Xian Jiutian relied on the mystic turtle divine armor to ignore everyone's attacks. He defeated an invincible king and stepped towards the bottle of Qilin's blood essence. He did not know that there was less than 1/10 of the blood essence left in the bottle. 90% of it had been taken by the parrot. Even if he used bait, he would not really leave the Qilin's blood essence behind. He couldn't bear to part with it. The human race, a hidden aristocratic family, Zetian, was at the 9th level of the immortal gate. His aura had always been restrained, and he did not have many life tablets. However, after becoming the king of 100 battles, no one paid him any attention at all. But he suddenly erupted with power. His Qilin bloodline was about to revert to its ancestral state. Veins bulged all over his body, and his qi and blood suppressed everyone. One of his hands tore through the void and grabbed at the bottle. His eyes emitted a terrifying will. This Qilin blood was too important to him. As long as he had this Qilin blood, he could revert to his ancestral state and prove his Tao would be within reach. All of you, get lost. Zetian was dressed in purple. Even his hair was purple. His eyes were vast and mighty, suppressing the heavens. The one who should get lost is you. Long Qiong's dragon tail swung over, shattering the shackles. He swept through everyone alone, incomparably powerful. Heaven destruction technique. Eliminate me. Xia Ziluo seemed to have gone crazy. Her palms reached towards the sky, instantly sucking away all the spiritual qi in the King of 100 Battles battle zone. She waved her large hand in the void, directly grabbing at Long Qiong's vital point, wanting to kick him out. Hong! The dragon claw shattered tens of thousands of li, colliding with the heaven destruction technique. The dragon's bones shattered and blood splattered across the sky. Long Qiong roared angrily. She opened her huge dragon mouth and roared into the void, shattering the remaining power. Brother, I'll take it. You take the Qilin blood. Xia Ziluo's power overflowed into the heavens. Her palms formed seals, and the 8 trigrams hung in the sky. She wanted to break open the endless space, seize spiritual qi from the endless universe, and kill countless heroes. Xia Qiue also didn't know that this thing was just an empty bottle with only a little bit of essence blood inside. Otherwise, she wouldn't have gone crazy like this. Her sword pierced through the clouds, and the sword rainbow froze heaven and earth as she attacked Heaven Equal Monkey King. The parrot trembled as it rushed back from the other side. When it saw the heroes fighting together, it had a sinister smile on its face. It asked Jian Qinxue for credit. He, mistress, how was it? You released the Qilin blood essence just like that. Jian Qinxue was also very pained. The Qilin blood essence was much richer than the Qilin tiger blood essence. Moreover, it was an 8th grade Qilin tiger blood essence that was almost about to prove its Tao. It was 100 times better than the blood essence that Xia Qintian gambled. Nonsense, how could this divine bird do such a stupid thing? I only put 1/10 of it inside, and I took back 90%. The parrot's face was full of pride. It turned to the people of the Kuang sect and said, let's watch the show first. Later, we'll kick them all out. The people of the Kuang sect twitched their mouths and felt incomparably ashamed. They were glad that the parrot didn't side with the myriad races. Otherwise, the human race would definitely be in trouble. With the human emperor's secret technique, people of the same race would be badly beaten up. Little stone, this big idiot, why did he rush in? The parrot raised its eyebrows. It was speechless when it saw Shi Gu killing everyone with the brick and hitting Xian Jiutian until he was dizzy. It's good that he rushed in. Now that no one cares about us, let's watch the show. Sikong Qingjun sneered. He held the thunder god rod tightly and stared at the center of the battlefield. When the fight was almost over, it was time to clean up the battlefield. Outside the space, the quasi-emperors were confused. Why was the battle zone of the King of 100 Battles so chaotic when it started? Everyone was fighting for themselves. Except for Shirgu, the others of the Kuang sect didn't move. There must be a conspiracy. It must be the parrot's doing. The Qilin tiger roared. It stared at the image in the space and said its hunch. Chapter 287. Yi Qinghan rolled his eyes. The 10,000 races and the human race were in a mess. Other than Shirgu, the rest of the Kuang sect didn't move. It must be the parrot's doing. He didn't need the Qilin tiger to say it. This damn bird. Is it from the 10,000 races or the human race? The quasi-emperors of 10,000 races roared. They wanted to kill the parrot as they watched the king of 100 being eliminated. A few human experts were also eliminated. It wasn't that their battle strength was weak, but that their luck was not enough. In addition to Long Qiong and Yang Zhan, there was also King Qitian, Xia Ziluo, and Zi Tian. Another terrifying figure had emerged from the secluded clans, Yi Feng. He could crush King Qi with his bare hands and trample the sage monarch tribe. Shirgu used the pseudo-extreme emperor weapon to entangle Xian Zhoutian. Unfortunately, Xian Zhoutian's mystic turtle divine armor couldn't be broken at all. They controlled the battle and occupied the battlefield. Most of the humans and 10,000 races were eliminated, and the remaining ones were injured. Zi Tian went crazy and directly suppressed the top expert of the Saint Royal tribe. He was getting closer and closer to the bottle of Qilin blood essence. His purple robe fluttered in the wind, and his face was ferocious. Anyone who dared to snatch the Qilin blood essence was an enemy to him. Divine might shakes the heavens. Zi Tian formed a seal with his palms, and a huge Qilin phantom followed behind him. It was invincible, and its might shook the sky. 10,000 swords display sword Dao. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, Xia Qiue unsheathed her sword and turned into 10,000 swords, seizing people's souls. She used the supreme sword Dao, and the sky-piercing divine sword hung in the 9 heavens, wanting to split the central battle zone of the King of 100 Battles. Boom! The sword Dao soared into the sky and slashed at a supreme king. The sword momentum was like a rainbow, completely suppressing him and splitting the battle zone into 2. In the battle zone, there was still one person who hadn't participated in the battle. He stood at the edge of the battle zone, coldly watching everyone fight for the Qilin blood. He carried a huge soul-devouring Tachi on his back and stood proudly like a javelin. After knowing the parrot for so long, he knew that the parrot was behind it when he saw that there was an extra portion of Qilin blood essence. The number of people in the battle zone was decreasing, but the battle didn't stop. Instead, it entered a white-hot stage. The heaven-quelling technique almost distorted and reversed time and space. The heavenly monkey king's cudgel stirred up the wind and clouds. He was like a true god of war. There were only 7 or 8 powerful existences left in the war zone. They were all bathed in the river of blood and suffered heavy injuries. Zi Tian grabbed the bottle and rolled it continuously. He did not care about his face at all. However, when he saw that there was only a little bit of essence blood in the bottle, he roared in anger. Who did it? Get the hell out here. Zi Tian's hatred overflowed into the heavens. He used all of his strength and almost died on the spot. He was actually tricked. Everyone stopped what they were doing. When they saw that the blood essence in Zitian's hand was only 1/10 of a drop, their faces turned purple. Xia Ziluo clenched her fists and looked at the parrot. However, she wouldn't tell them that the real blood essence was in the parrot's body. She would wait until they were out of the space to get back all the face she had lost today. The parrot trembled and wanted to get into Jian Qinshue's body. However, without the contract, it could only stay on Jian Qinshue's shoulder. Ha ha ha. Sikong Qingjun laughed so hard that his stomach was about to cramp. Qitian Monkey King and the others were livid. After such a fierce fight, there was only a little bit of essence blood. It was useless at all. Only Zi Tian could use it. Now, if they did not understand what was going on, they would be really stupid. Shi Gu, the hothead of the arrogant sect, rushed up. At this moment, he looked at Emperor Yi and the others with a confused face. Xia Qiue sheathed her swords and looked at the parrot with the corner of her mouth twitching. No one in the arrogant sect could do such a wicked thing except for the parrot. Give me the essence blood of Kylin. Long Qiong's divine sense locked on the parrot and scolded coldly. Humph. If you don't die now, I'll kick you out today. Emperor Yi suddenly turned into a guqin and stood in the sky. He pulled the strings and was about to launch the 9 arrows chasing moon explosion technique. Boom! Gu Qingyu and Lin Aoqiong attacked at the same time, trying to eliminate Long Qiong first. Little parrot, give me the Kylin blood. When I become a Taoist, I can help you achieve the 9th rank bloodline. Zi Tian clenched his iron fist and stepped forward aggressively. Give me the Kylin blood. I'll spare your life. Feng Ling spread her wings and flew high. The phoenix bloodline and the peacock bloodline filled the void, suppressing the heavens. For a moment, some of the people who participated in the battle rushed over. They were the real top cultivators. Although they were all injured, they could definitely inflict serious damage to the arrogant sect if they fought to the death. The parrot had nothing to lose and could not escape. He stretched his neck and shouted, I'd like to see who's the most arrogant one. Stand in front of me and say, fuck, I'll give you the Kylin blood and let others kill you together. Who's the most arrogant one? Come out and let me see. You stupid bird, that's neither a phoenix nor a peacock. How dare you talk to me like that? Are you tired of living? Believe it or not, I'll use the Kylin blood as a reward to kill you. Even your soul can't escape from the boundless space. The parrot's neck was thick. He roared at Feng Ling and spread his white wings. He was more arrogant than anyone else. Feng Ling's chi and blood surged. She was almost angered to death by the parrot's words. However, when she saw the cold eyes of everyone, she felt a chill down her spine. If she was surrounded, she would not be able to escape from the boundless space. The King of 100 Battles battle zone was dead silent. Everyone was frightened by the parrot. Do you think we're stupid? We're still killing each other and letting the arrogant sect benefit? Xian Zhoutian looked at the parrot with disdain. He was confident in his mystic turtle divine armor and was not afraid of being surrounded. He immediately stepped forward and said arrogantly. Oh, don't think that I can't do anything to you just because you're wearing a turtle shell. The parrot sneered and said to Zi Tian and Long Qiong, whoever kicks him out, I'll give half a drop of Kylin blood. Whoever can kill him and make him unable to escape from the boundless space, I'll give him a drop of Kylin blood. I swear on the souls of my ancestors that I'll keep my promise to whoever kills him. Give him the Kylin blood. The parrot was enraged. It wanted to establish its might and kick Xian Zhoutian out. Xian Zhoutian's face was gloomy. He was about to attack Jian Qinshuo and kill the parrot. Qitian Monkey King, Zi Tian, Long Qiong, Yang Zhan, Zhan Gu, Xia Ziluo, Feng Ling, Xia Qiue, and Shi Gu all attacked at the same time. Xian Zhoutian was furious. The mystic turtle divine armor was activated and wanted to block the attacks. As the saying goes, 2 fists are no match for 4 hands. The sky beheading god staff and the 5-clawed dragon claw tore through the void and were extremely powerful. The heaven quelling technique directly grabbed the space around Xian Zhoutian, making it impossible for him to escape. Boom! Shi Ji's brick smashed onto the mystic turtle divine armor. The mystic turtle divine armor was activated and let out a deafening rumble. Bang! Qitian Monkey King swept Xian Zhoutian's back with his staff and sent him flying hundreds of meters away. Boom boom boom. Hua hua hua, dozens of attacks in a row stunned Xian Zhoutian. He wanted to retaliate, but he didn't know which one to hit. The parrot sneered and cursed, "This divine bird hates people who are arrogant in front of me. Don't think that you won't be eliminated just because you have a turtle shell." Jian Qinshua's mouth twitched. He looked at the parrot and whispered, "Are you really going to hand over the Qilin blood? Humph, money can't buy my happiness. Kicking this turtle out is to tell the world that whoever dares to be arrogant in front of me, I'll take out a supreme treasure and put a bounty on his life." The parrot snorted proudly and said smugly. The corners of the Kuang sect's mouth twitched. This parrot was going to overturn the heavens. "We can't let outsiders take advantage of us. Since we're going to attack, let's attack together." Boom! Feng Sha stepped into the battle zone. The Soul Devourer Blade's baleful aura was enough to affect the Tao heart of those at the same level. He slashed at Xian Zhoutian. Gu Qingyu attacked. His sword split the sky and pierced towards Xian Zhoutian's throat. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 attacks were launched. Xian Zhoutian's divine sense was shaken and his 7 apertures were bleeding. Even his physical body was bleeding. Xian Zhoutian's defense was indeed the best in the world. More than 10 terrifying existences had attacked him several times. If he was a divine martial expert, his soul would have exploded and he would have died on the spot. However, Xian Zhoutian was able to withstand the attacks. At this time, he didn't dare to resist anymore. The mystic turtle divine armor could withstand the attacks, but he couldn't. His soul was about to explode. "Damn you, bitch. Fuck your ancestor." Xian Zhoutian cursed. He wanted to break through the attacks and kill the parrot, but he couldn't. "Go ahead if you can." The parrot was arrogant and didn't care. "You bunch of idiots, you've all been used by it." Boom. Puff. Qitian Monkey King smashed his staff again and sent Xian Zhoutian flying. Xian Zhoutian saw stars and coughed out blood. Zi Tian held a purple sword in his hand. It was incomparably swift and fierce. His sword was like a rainbow, causing the Tao hearts of the experts to tremble. They wanted to kill Xian Zhoutian on the spot and seize the Qilin blood. The Qilin blood was too important to Zi Tian, so he didn't hold back. Whoosh, Xian Zhoutian was scared and threw out his life token. However, his soul still needed time to leave the space. No one wanted to get half a drop of essence blood. They all wanted the whole drop. Boom. More than 10 experts attacked Xian Zhoutian's soul together. The space and earth were blasted into nothingness. Xian Zhoutian screamed miserably and almost died. The parrot rolled its eyes and asked innocently, "Who kicked this bastard out?" "Of course it was me." Everyone shouted. "Who was it?" "I can't conjure more than 10 drops of essence blood for you. I can only give it to one person. Half a drop. This bastard isn't dead yet. Whoever gets rid of him will get the remaining half." The parrot's eyes flashed and wanted to eliminate a few more people. Everyone clenched their fists. After fighting for so long, everyone had used all their strength. No one could say that it was all the strength of one person. What was the use of sharing half a drop of Qilin blood essence with more than 10 people? "I'll compensate you with a supreme treasure. This drop of Qilin blood essence is mine. Otherwise, let's fight to the death after we leave the boundless space. I'm willing to exchange my life for the Qilin blood." Zi Tian was incomparably domineering. No one could compete with him for the Qilin blood. Everyone looked at him coldly. Such pure Qilin blood essence couldn't be compensated by other supreme treasures. Chapter 288. In the endless universe, outside the Emperor Abyss City, Xian Zhoutian was kicked out, which shocked everyone. Xian Zhoutian had the black tortoise bloodline of the true sect. He also had the black tortoise divine armor, which was enough to withstand the attacks of Qitian Monkey King and Long Qiong. However, no matter how strong the black tortoise divine armor was, it couldn't withstand the continuous attacks of more than 10 experts. He was lucky to be able to escape this time. Otherwise, even if Yi Qinghan was attacked like this, with his Origin Dao body and Azure Dragon body, he would have been killed. Pfft! Xian Zhoutian's soul and body merged as he spat out a mouthful of essence blood. His face was pale. Damn you! Devouring spirit eagle, I'm going to kill you, cough cough. Xian Zhoutian was furious and kept coughing out blood. His eyes were red as he glared at the King of 100 Battles battle zone. Then, he locked his gaze on Yi Qinghan. This parrot was Yi Qinghan's spiritual pet. As the saying goes, the master has to pay for the mistakes of the spiritual pet. Yi Qinghan. Just you wait. In the king-conferring battle, I'll kill everyone from the insane sect. Xian Zhoutian shouted angrily. Yi Qinghan smirked and clenched his fists. He replied coldly, pray you don't meet me first in the king-conferring battle. I'll kill you completely. Hee, what big words. More than 10 experts in the endless space couldn't do anything to me. Xian Zhoutian sneered. Didn't you get kicked out by a little parrot with a little trick? Yi Qinghan mocked disdainfully. It would have been better if he didn't mention this. When the parrot was mentioned, not only was Xian Zhoutian angry, but the Qilin, the experts of the human race, and those who were kicked out were all glaring at Yi Qinghan. They wanted to gang up on Yi Qinghan. Some covered their mouths and snickered. Even the Imperial Prince and the 9th Stage Immortal Sect's Imperial Bloodline were kicked out. So what if they were kicked out? Many boundary emperors smiled bitterly at the endless space. Not only did the atmosphere in the space not ease, it was filled with killing intent and once again shrouding the King of 100 Battles battle zone. You guys discuss who to give this half drop of essence blood to. If you all agree, I'll give it to you. The parrot said lazily. Zi Tian and the others were unwilling to give up. The corner of Feng Ling's mouth twitched. Looking at the parrot's despicable face, she wanted to explode, but she was afraid that the wretched bird would use the other half of its blood essence to kick her out. She didn't have Xian Zhoutian's defense, and she didn't even have a chance to escape when surrounded by so many experts. TSK, none of you are willing to let go. So, let's split it evenly. The parrot asked, taking pleasure in their misfortune. No. Zi Tian immediately shouted. He was determined to obtain this drop of Qilin blood. I'll give this half drop of blood essence to whoever recognizes me as their big brother and calls me Big Brother Divine Bird. The parrot's eyes flashed with a crafty light. With so many experts around, if it took in a little brother, who would dare to bully it? The eyes of Qitian Monkey King and the others flashed with cold light. They wanted nothing more than to slap the parrot out of the space. They had the royal bloodline of the myriad races, the top bloodline of the sage monarch race. Who would call a parrot big brother? Shirgu held the brick. He wanted to see which one was thicker, the brick or the parrot. Zi Tian's blood and qi were surging. He was stirring up the Qilin blood essence. His killing intent was overflowing. His purple hair fluttered in the wind. His imposing manner was terrifying as he stared at the parrot. If you don't want to, then forget it. Why are you doing this? The parrot's imposing manner weakened. It did not dare to offend so many experts. I want all of it. Zi Tian's steel teeth were crushed. He clenched his iron fists. He was going all out for the sake of atavism. His handsome face was malevolent as he shouted in a low voice. Fuck. Zi Tian, do you have any shame? You have the Qilin bloodline of the human race. Now that you are on the path of atavism, why do you have to compromise? Yi Feng rebuked angrily. The corner of Long Qiong's mouth twitched. He could not bring himself to call the parrot big brother. Chitian Monkey King coldly snorted. The Qilin blood essence could increase one's combat strength, but it could not evolve his bloodline. Apart from being of vital importance to Zetian, it was not that attractive to him. If he could get it, he would fight for it. If he could not get it, he would not go crazy. The parrot looked at Zetian's serious expression and was immediately overjoyed. Zetian had the Qilin bloodline. Once he officially atavism, his combat strength would definitely rise. It was even possible for him to prove his Tao. With this little brother, who would dare to bully him? Swear. Swear on your ancestors and your Tao heart. Swear in front of the will of the 9 Dragons Emperor and Human Emperor Shenyuan. Not only will I give you the Qilin blood essence, I will also help you prove your Tao. The parrot was impatient. It could not wait to subdue Zetian immediately. The corner of Emperor Ye's mouth twitched. Is this bastard parrot trying to run away? I, Zetian, have the Qilin bloodline. I swear in front of the will of the 9 Dragons Emperor and Human Emperor Shenyuan. I am willing to swear on the souls of my ancestors and my Tao heart. I will respect the godly spirit devouring eagle as my big brother. Anyone who dares to go against my big brother is going against me, Zetian. If I prove my Tao, I will help the godly spirit devouring eagle to attain the 9th grade bloodline and become a royal family. If I go against my oath today, I will be a traitor. My Tao heart will definitely be shattered and I will be spurned by the souls of my ancestors. I will be besieged by all the races in the world and die a tragic death in the Forbidden Land. Zetian knelt on one knee. His eyes shone with golden light. The path of atavism was to endure humiliation. No one could stop his Tao heart. Good, good, good. Good little brother, get up quickly. I will give you the Qilin blood essence. In the future, when I have meat to eat, I will not let you be a vegetarian. The parrot immediately abandoned Jian Qinxue and rushed to Zetian. It gave the Qilin blood essence to Zetian and took out a secret technique created by the human emperor when he was young, the dragon suppression seal. The golden light was dazzling and captivating. The corner of everyone's mouth twitched. This bitch bird was really generous. Zetian bowed down. They did not know whether it was a blessing or a curse. Little brother, this divine bird did not humiliate you on purpose. I am testing your Tao heart. If you can't even endure humiliation, how can you prove your Tao? This divine bird has seen your performance. I can certainly predict that you will become the great emperor. You will be recorded in the history books forever. The parrot helped Zetian up and said in a deep voice. Zetian took the Qilin blood. He was so excited that his eyes were filled with tears. His qi and blood were boiling and roaring. The pressure was getting stronger and stronger. He could not wait to swallow the Qilin blood. However, his Tao heart was indeed terrifying. He suppressed his excitement and looked at the secret technique of the dragon suppression seal. His hands trembled. Looking at the serious expression of the parrot, the humiliation disappeared. Thank you, divine bird. Big brother. Zetian took the dragon suppression seal and really submitted. Ha ha ha. This divine bird is destined to be the emperor of thousands of races. Whoever dares to oppose me is destined to have a bad end. The parrot laughed arrogantly. Long Qiong and the other experts' mouths twitched. Humph. Is that so? Are you betraying brother Qinghan? Jian Qinxue was dissatisfied. These treasures were all discussed and given to Yi Qinghan. She did not expect the parrot to take the initiative and give them all to Zetian. At the mention of Yi Qinghan, the parrot's arrogance was immediately extinguished. It trembled all over and hurriedly said, Mistress, don't think too much. I've always been loyal and devoted to my master. How could I possibly betray him? Who is your mistress? Emperor Yi was furious and asked coldly. Ah. You are. You are. The parrot flew back and ran behind Zitian. It did not dare to compete with Emperor Yi. Ha ha ha. Interesting. This training is the most interesting training I have ever seen. The phantom controlled the king of 100 battles. Its aura suppressed everyone. With the Xianyuan sword and the 9-dragon seal, the emperor's aura was vast and mighty. Everyone knelt down and shivered. Was this really the emperor's will? Why did it have its own thoughts? Fate is determined by the heavens. Those who are eliminated can only say that they did not have fate with me and brother Xianyuan. Now that we have seen your combat power clearly, I will leave some people with brother Xianyuan. The rest will leave. Swoosh! In the king of 100 battles area, the imperial might was vast and mighty. Golden light filled the sky, and the space changed. Other than Jian Qinxue, Gu Qingyu, and Long Qiong who were taken away, even Yang Zhan, Qitian Monkey King, Stan Wuxia, and Emperor Yi, who had terrifying bloodlines, were eliminated. Emperor Yi and Si Wuxia were of the emperor's bloodline. They had their own paths to walk. The emperor was not willing to interfere. Xia Qiue got the 13 moves of the Xianyuan sword, so it was not a loss. As for Lin Aoqiong, he had the divine sword Dao technique. He had to rely on himself in the future. Qitian Monkey King was indifferent. Even if he was eliminated, his Dao heart did not waver. Long Qiong only took advantage of the dragon's bloodline. The Azure Dragon Quasi-Emperor smiled. Long Qiong was taken away by the 9-dragon Emperor's will. Her future was limitless. The people of the insane sect recovered. The parrot was also thrown out of the space. It flew back to Yi Qinghan's shoulder with a smug face and said flatteringly, "The mission is completed. Is master satisfied?" Yi Qinghan's lips curled up. He waved the universe ring in his hand and said lightly, "In the future, it will not be a problem for me to eat elixirs above level 6. The parrot was overjoyed. It could not wait to hug Yi Qinghan to show its sincerity. When everyone saw the parrot, they surrounded it. The parrot was so frightened that it trembled. It quickly shouted, "What do you want? I am not afraid of you. Bastard, you dare to show up. I will kill you. I am going to roast you." The heroes were furious. More and more people gathered. There were many who were cheated out of the space by the parrot, and they were all experts. There was no lack of emperors or quasi-emperors. The strongest were Qilin Tiger, Xian Zhoutian, and more than 100 battle kings. Humph! Get out of my way. Zitian stepped forward with the purple sword in his hand. He glanced at the heroes. The Qilin bloodline was awakened, and he wanted to kill the kings of the heroes. Everyone swallowed a mouthful of saliva. They thought that Zitian was also here to settle scores with the parrot. They were gloating in their hearts. They opened a path for Zitian and Yi Qinghan to fight first. Yi Qinghan's expression was serious. He summoned his heavy berserk blade and looked coldly at Zitian. He knew that Zitian was an extreme expert. He was definitely a top existence in the same realm. "Little brother Zitian, come and protect big brother. These bastards are blind. They want to bully this divine bird." When the parrot saw Zitian, it immediately shouted. When everyone heard the parrot shout, their hair stood on end. They all retreated more than 10 steps and looked at Zitian in shock. They thought that Zitian would be furious. They did not expect Zitian's attitude to change. He cupped his fists and said, "Big brother divine bird, don't worry. I will tear apart whoever dares to shout at you." Yi Qinghan staggered and almost fell to the ground. He looked at the parrot and Zitian in confusion. He did not understand what was going on. Some experts fell to the ground on the spot. They climbed up in a sorry state, and their faces were filled with disbelief. Chapter 289. The Qilin tiger was furious. Tian had submitted to the parrot. Was the sky about to fall? Tian and the Qilin tiger were of the same bloodline, but one was of the human race and the other was of the royal race. Tian, you're of the Qilin bloodline. How could you submit to a lowly bird? Where's your conscience? The Qilin tiger stepped forward and looked at Tian coldly. I control my Tao. You don't have the right to say whether I submit or not. You can talk to me again after I reach atavism. I'll kill you. Tian retorted coldly. Qilin tiger, don't look down on the spirit-engulfing divine eagle. You should know better than us how you were kicked out. Ha ha ha, the people of the Kuang sect laughed and mocked him without giving him any face. The parrot raised its head arrogantly. With Yi Qinghan and Tian by its side, it was not afraid of anyone. Little tiger, don't be arrogant. If you dare to be arrogant again, I'll teach you a lesson in the king-conferring battle. The parrot sneered and its eyes turned quickly. It looked at people like the Qitian Monkey King and thought, I'll make you kill each other sooner or later. The Qilin tiger clenched its fist and wanted to smash the parrot into pieces. However, Tian and Yi Qinghan were beside it. It was difficult to deal with one of them. If the two of them attacked it together, it would definitely be in trouble. It had no choice but to retreat. Many of the experts who had been tricked by the parrot saw the Qilin tiger retreat and did not dare to look for trouble. They could only choose to leave quietly. Yi Qinghan looked at Tian. This super-existence of the human race that was on the verge of complete atavism had actually been subdued by the parrot's threats. Yi Qinghan didn't want to look down on Tian, so he smiled and cupped his fists. Brother Z, please don't bother with this parrot. If you think highly of me, then we can call each other brothers. Brother Yi, we can call each other brothers. However, I am indebted to the divine bird. If I can truly awaken the Qilin bloodline, it will be because of you. I will not forget your kindness. Let's call each other brothers. Tian was neither servile nor overbearing. Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly. The parrot's ability to subdue people was not small. Since Tian had already steeled his heart to recognize the parrot as his elder brother, he could not refuse. The parrot was moved to tears. It jumped onto Tian's shoulder and said seriously, "Good brother, I promise to make you a great emperor in the future. Come back to the insane sect with me. I will take you to the eternal battlefield to find treasures." Humph. Emperor Yi walked over, the enlightenment god lotus in hand, glaring at the parrot with displeasure. Inwardly, he was very unhappy that the parrot was being so nice to someone else. Ahem. The parrot laughed awkwardly, not daring to say anything more. Yi Qinghan gathered the people of the insane sect and opened a huge sect in a mountain range outside the hunter's territory. He mobilized a large number of hunters to build a palace and joined forces with dozens of experts to set up a protective formation. With the human emperor's guardian sword as the eye of the formation, it would not be a problem to resist the attack of a quasi-emperor. A huge insane sect was officially established in the imperial domain. There was no superfluous announcement, just a silent rise. Yi Qinghan invited Yi Lingyu and Yi Jianma, the two young elites of the Tianji sect, to set up a 7th-grade spirit-gathering formation in the mountain range. The spirit chi of heaven and earth rushed madly into the mountain range, turning it into a paradise. Yi Qinghan opened up a back mountain, flattened it, and developed it into a medicine garden. He planted a large number of 6th-grade and 7th-grade sacred medicine seeds, watered them with spirit liquid, and used the origin of water to move mountains and rivers, converging them into waterfalls and rivers. The mountain range stretched for hundreds of miles, becoming the back garden of the insane sect. The spirit chi was oppressive. The spirit chi formed a huge dragon above the insane sect and poured down like a spirit rain. All kinds of formations crisscrossed, and divine light filled the sky. In order to turn the insane sect into an impenetrable iron bucket, Yi Qinghan set up at least a dozen layers of formations in a radius of hundreds of miles. The large formations overlapped with the small ones, and the small ones overlapped with each other. Finally, Muyu Tianchen and Nangong Qingyue set up the Yin-Yang Great Formation, using the Great Tao of Yin and Yang to protect the core area of the insane sect. The corner of Yi Jianma's mouth twitched when he saw this. A large number of spirit crystals were used to pave the ground. Even if they were low-grade spirit crystals, it was extremely shocking. However, Yi Qinghan used middle-grade spirit crystals to pave the ground, creating thousands of paths that extended in all directions. Even the martial arts arena was paved with spirit crystals. The area was 1,000 meters wide, and with the activation of the formations, it was enough to withstand the powerful attacks of the emperor-level experts. The weeds on the mountain range were cleared, and all of them were planted with 4th grade and above spirit herbs. As a result, the spirit chi in the insane sect was not inferior to that of an 8th grade clan. It was even better than that of a 7th grade sect's blessed land. The hunters mobilized by Yi Qinghan and the experts of the ancient massacre god coveted this place. They wished they could stay here to cultivate. Unfortunately, this place only accepted the disciples of the insane sect, and no one was allowed to stay here without permission. There were waterfalls on the surrounding cliffs, and the water was filled with spirit chi. Spirit mist filled the air, and it was like a fairyland. Even the emperor-level experts were reluctant to leave this place. TSK, Brother Yi, I can't bear to leave this place. Heavenly Palace God was speechless. He looked around, and his soul was mesmerized. This is nothing. When I earn enough spirit crystals, I will pave the road here with high-grade spirit crystals and put the supreme-grade spirit crystals in the core of the mountain range. I want to turn this place into a high-grade spirit crystal mine. Yi Qinghan said proudly. If he created a supreme-grade spirit crystal mine, the insane sect would definitely become a 9th-grade supreme sect in the future. It would be famous in the world forever. Lin Aoqiong, Huang Tianhe, and Chao Bian announced on the spot that they had joined the insane sect, which strengthened the sect's reputation. Heavenly Palace God smiled bitterly. If he did not have the support of the Heavenly Palace clan, he might not have been able to resist joining the insane sect. Zi Tian was also stunned by the friendly atmosphere of the insane sect. There was no intrigue here, and the relationship between the brothers and sisters was even better than that of royal siblings. There was no barrier between them. Emperor Yi and Si Wuxia, the two royal bloodlines, had always been kind to their junior brothers and taught them patiently. Yi Qinghan was a hands-off boss, but he was also the pillar of the sect's soul. With him around, the insane sect would never fall. No one would be able to break it apart. Yi Qinghan said in a low voice, Wuxia, spar with little Tian and cultivate his combat experience. The others are free to cultivate their secret techniques. I will cultivate in seclusion for a while and try to create more 6th grade and 7th grade divine pills before the battle. These are life-saving items. The insane sect's affairs will be left to your senior sisters, Emperor Yi and Jiu Chong. If you have any problems, you can ask your senior uncles. Wuxia took Di Longtian to the martial arts arena. Everyone went to their own places and the outsiders left. Yi Qinghan found Muyu, Tianchen, and Nangong Qingyue. He found that the two of them had undergone tremendous changes. Their temperament was ethereal and their combat strength was extraordinary. Tianchen, Brother Gu is not here now. Shi Gu, Feng Wuxia, and the others are all in seclusion. Do me a favor and help me purchase some powerful 7th grade smithing materials. I want to forge some real divine weapons for the insane sect to face the titled king battle. As Yi Qinghan was speaking, a group of people arrived at the mountain gate. They represented the human race's superpowers and Tao realm sacred grounds. There were also some experts from the myriad races. Most of them were divine martial realm experts. Yi Qinghan was surprised. He didn't even announce the establishment of the insane sect. What were these people doing here? He brought Mu Yu, Tianchen, and Nangong Qingyue out to welcome them. He found that everyone cupped their fists and congratulated him. They took out a large number of treasures and seemed to want to make friends with him. Yi Qinghan had too many monarch weapons in his hands. The human king's guardian sword, the divine martial imperial law, and an extreme Dao monarch weapon that he bragged about. Everyone thought that he had 3 monarch weapons. Even some of the royal races came to congratulate him. They were afraid of offending this rising insane sect. Yi Qinghan didn't hold back. At this time, the insane sect lacked resources. He couldn't keep asking the ancient massacre god for them. Sooner or later, the ancient massacre god would hate him. So, he took them all and welcomed them with a smile. He set up a banquet outside the insane sect to express his gratitude. However, since someone gave him face, there would naturally be people who came to cause trouble. However, they were all juniors. Yi Qinghan activated the array and kept them outside, allowing them to cause trouble. In the end, Si Wuxia brought Di Longtian out of the insane sect and beat them up. They almost lost their lives and all of them fled. Yi Qinghan didn't ask about it. The quarrels of the juniors were just right for Di Longtian to gain some experience and battle experience. After sending everyone off, Yi Qinghan returned to his specially built alchemy room. He took out the smelting divine furnace and used the 7th grade 6-taste true fire. With the help of the divine martial imperial laws alchemy chapter, he didn't need to spend too much effort on alchemy below the 8th grade. Yi Qinghan didn't want to waste a lot of time. A day of refining pills was equivalent to a day of cultivation. As he gradually became more proficient in refining pills, the prairie fire technique became more and more powerful. The purity and medicinal properties of the pills also became more and more powerful. The 6th grade Supreme Being's supreme pellet emitted a fragrant aroma. As his soul grew stronger day by day, Yi Qinghan began to cultivate some of the soul divine arts in the divine martial imperial law. The one that interested him the most was a very special soul divine art, the soul slaying art. It could directly kill without leaving a trace. Using the soul slaying art, one could directly kill the opponent's soul and injure the enemy from 1,000 miles away. The soul slaying art was divided into 3 realms. The first realm was the soul refining realm. One would first cultivate one's soul to the point where one could control others. The second realm was the soul slaying realm. In the second realm, one could directly use one's soul to kill the opponent. The third realm was the divine intent. In layman's terms, one's gaze and willpower could suppress the soul of an expert of the same level. Willpower was an extension of the soul. Willpower represented the soul, and the soul was the foundation of willpower. Once cultivated to the large success realm, one would be like a great emperor. One gaze could kill a 9th grade quasi-emperor. This was the difference in willpower. Yi Qinghan's soul and body were synchronized. His body was strong, his soul was strong, and his willpower was even more terrifying. To him, the first realm of the soul-slaying art was just a formality. What he really needed to cultivate was the second realm, the soul-slaying realm. Yi Qinghan was silent in his cultivation. He used his soul and willpower to control the flow of medicinal properties in the smelting divine furnace. The speed of his improvement was unparalleled. At the same time, many experts of the mad sect were also cultivating hard. Especially those who had entered the endless space to train. Most of their souls were several levels higher than their physical bodies. For example, Shi Ji's soul was 7 levels higher. If they weren't synchronized, their physical bodies wouldn't be able to withstand the willpower of the soul. Chapter 290. Outside the wild sect, more and more great ones gathered. Everyone in the endless universe knew that this year's battle of the Crown Prince was very different from the past. The ultimate geniuses of all the great clans gradually came to the surface and no longer wanted to hide. Otherwise, they would all be eliminated by history. The Dao Realm Holy Lands, the Sage Monarch clans, the hidden great clans, and sects were all at the forefront of the universe. Each of their disciples was a battle king of a region. They were extremely terrifying. Some of the 100 battle kings from the infinite dimensions were suppressed in a battle of the same level. Outside the sovereign region, a black-clothed man wearing a bamboo hat and black robe appeared. He didn't emit any aura, as if he were dead. He didn't even have any energy fluctuations, but his speed was comparable to a 9th-tier immortal. At this moment, the sovereign region was packed with people. Young people without the strength of an immortal gate didn't dare to go out. Young people without the battle prowess of a coronation battle king didn't dare to challenge anyone. The black-clothed man entered the sovereign region and landed on the sovereign region planet. He challenged more than 10 disciples of the superpowers, but they were all killed in an instant. The corpses were like dried corpses, without any vitality. Their blood was black, just like ordinary people. These corpses quickly attracted the attention of the experts. They realized that the black-clothed man's movements were very orderly. He wasn't afraid of being challenged, and his battle prowess was at the 7th tier of the immortal gate. The Arhat of the Great Golden Buddha Temple stopped the black-clothed man outside Half Moon City. One of them was filled with Buddhist energy, while the other was filled with death chi. Many experts came to watch, and a large number of cloud-piercing ships arrived. Who are you? Why are all the people you fight dead? Guan Yu was filled with Buddhist energy and boundless Buddhist energy. He was clearly different from the disciples of the Great Golden Buddha Temple. He had probably sealed himself for 1,000 years. In the Golden Age, the strong are destined to walk on corpses. The Great Tao is merciless, and so are the great emperors. Why do you need to question me? The black-clothed man's voice was hoarse and stiff. But you've gone too far. Regardless of whether it was the human race or the 10,000 races, your opponents all lost their vitality. Their corpses instantly withered and their blood dimmed. It was clear that their vitality had been forcefully devoured by you. Such an evil technique is despicable. The Celestial Wolf Clan's 10 war kings, Lang Kuan, stepped out powerfully and shouted at the black-clothed man. The black-clothed man's black eyes couldn't even be covered by the black veil. He stared at Guan Yu and Lang Kuan indifferently. With his hands behind his back, he proudly said, being able to prove one's Tao is already a good technique. Your Tao is too narrow. If you think I'm strong, you can fight with me. Life and death is your own responsibility. Arrogant. Lan Kuan's wolf claws tore through the sky. Like a half-human half-beast, he crazily tore at the black-clothed man. He coldly said, "Today, I want to see if you can show your face in front of others." Boom! The black-clothed man's 5 withered fingers struck from the air and directly grabbed Lang Kuan's wolf claw. Crack, AOO, Lang Kuan's wolf claw was like an immortal sex Tao weapon, but it was actually broken by the black-clothed man. A large amount of vitality was sucked away by those 5 withered fingers. With every bit of vitality absorbed, his fingers would gain a bit more color. Lang Kuan screamed miserably. No matter how hard he struggled, he couldn't escape from the black-clothed man's control. His vitality instantly dissipated, and his original body was revealed. It was so withered that there wasn't a bit of energy fluctuation. He died on the spot. Guan Yu's light flickered as he put his palms together. His Buddhist robe and kasaya emitted Buddhist light. His Buddhist nature shot out in all directions, enveloping the black-clothed man within. The black-clothed man's black robe fluttered as it automatically blocked off the Buddhist nature. He indifferently glanced at everyone and stared at Bodhisattva Guan Yu. He sneered, and his voice was incomparably horrifying. Bodhisattva. Unfortunately, your Buddhist nature is too weak, and your energy is too weak. If your great Buddha Golden Temple's Bodhisattva who had sealed himself for 3,000 years came out, I might be a bit more cautious. But with a trash like you, do you think you can bring glory to great Buddha Golden Temple? Guan Yu was shocked as he looked at the black-clothed man in shock. Bodhisattva was a character from Emperor Killer's era. When he was young, he was truly invincible within the same realm. He was able to cross realms to kill gods and martial gods, and he had the power to cut down the royal bloodline of tens of thousands of races. It seemed like he was destined to succeed, but he suddenly disappeared and sealed himself in the forbidden land of Great Buddha Golden Temple. The Bodhisattva who had sealed himself for 3,000 years had long been buried by history and forgotten by the world. Even the experts of the Tao realm Holy Lands didn't remember him. How did this black-clothed man know about him? Amitabha, which hidden sect are you from? Why do you know about Senior Bodhisattva? Guan Yu asked in a low voice. Boom! What answered him wasn't words, but the black-clothed man's 5 withered fingers that directly sealed his throat. His kasaya fluttered in the wind, and the Buddhist light was suppressed. Guan Yu's vigorous blood essence and vitality instantly dried up, and his corpse fell to the ground. Too cruel, a bodhisattva of the Immortal Gate Stage 8 actually couldn't resist at all. The black-clothed man's 5 fingers gradually turned red, and his skin became more elastic. His eyes were extremely terrifying as he glanced at the experts and began to slaughter. His figure flashed, and his spatial laws were almost at large success, making it impossible to defend against. Ah! You demon! Isn't he a human? Gotcha! The expert's neck was broken, and the pale golden battle bone dimmed. There was no flesh left on his body, and it all dried up. The black-clothed man consecutively killed more than 30 Immortal Gate experts, and drew out a God Martial expert. After exchanging 3 palm strikes with him, the God Martial expert's palm turned black, and his blood boiled. He flew back more than 10 meters and looked at the black-clothed man in shock. The black-clothed man still used the power of the Immortal Gate Stage 7, but the low-level God Martial expert couldn't resist at all. Kakik, kid, you better not mess around. This era is destined to be the era of Immortal Gate experts. If a God Martial expert dares to interfere, then don't blame the rich and powerful families for reviving. The ones who will suffer will be you small sects without any backing. The black-clothed man's voice was cruel and cold, and he didn't put the God Martial expert in his eyes at all. You are a self-proclaimed expert. May I ask which era Senior is from? The God Martial expert asked. It has nothing to do with you. Scram! The black-clothed man said coldly. The God Martial expert's face was gloomy. Seeing that most of the experts in the surroundings had fled, the corner of his mouth twitched, and he indifferently retreated into the city. The black-clothed man didn't care about those experts who fled. He didn't care about people of this level at all, and he took them to the center of the Imperial region. As he fought along the way, his combat strength became more and more terrifying. His palms were no longer dried up, and they became flesh and blood. The energy fluctuations shattered the Tao hearts of the experts. In the eastern city, which was southwest of Imperial Abyss City, Muyu Tianqian and Nangong Qinhue were collecting 7th grade and above smithing materials. The man was handsome like jade, and the woman was beautiful beyond compare. The couple attracted the strange gazes of countless people. This couple is from the insane sect, right? They seem to be from the insane sect. I don't know how long they will stay. According to that devil's speed, he will reach Eastern City in the afternoon at the latest. That devil has already conquered more than 30 cities, and the younger generation has been swept away. I heard that the Saint Monarch Celestial Wolf Clan's 50th Battle King was killed. Our Eastern City can't resist such a person. I heard that the Buddha child of the Great Golden Temple was obliterated without any resistance. The God Martial expert came out to refute the rumor, saying that he doesn't cultivate the Ghost Emperor art. He can't be an undead spirit, right? Don't talk nonsense. An undead spirit's body can't appear in the outside world. It's not an emperor corpse. In a restaurant, 5 or 6 experts were discussing. Their eyes flickered, wanting to delay Muyu Tianchen and Nangong Qingyue to fight for Eastern City. Extra, extra. The black-clothed devil has killed the heavenly demon Imperial Prince and is approaching Eastern City. Brothers and sisters, prepare for war for glory. Extra, extra. The black-clothed devil has killed a 5-star ancient killing god's disciple and is only 300 miles away from Eastern City. A large number of scouts spread the news to Eastern City, causing a huge uproar. The experts' faces turned ugly. This black-clothed devil was too powerful and terrifying. He even dared to kill the ancient killing god's disciple, but the heavenly demon Imperial Prince was a top existence among the myriad races. Wasn't he afraid of offending the human race and the myriad races? Muyu Tianchen frowned and looked at the young expert who spread the news. He reached out and grabbed him, saying in a deep voice, "What's going on?" The ancient killing god's disciple isn't allowed to fight and is only responsible for maintaining order in the Imperial region. Who killed the ancient killing god's disciple? Sigh, it's an expert who came out of nowhere. He came from the southeast all the way to the center of the Imperial region. After killing his way through Eastern City, he might go to Emperor Abyss City or the city at the center of the Imperial region. This guy doesn't give face to anyone. The ancient killing god's disciple wanted to stop him from killing those powerless heroes, but he didn't expect to be crushed in less than 10 moves. The young man's face was pale as he said hatefully. "Dao friend, that guy even said that the human race and the myriad races are all trash and that this generation is all trash. None of them are worth fighting." How hateful. If it weren't for the fact that the experts participating in the training in the endless space are all in seclusion, there would definitely be someone who could extinguish his arrogance. Muyu Tianchen and Nangong Qingyue frowned. This black-clothed man was too cruel. The ancient killing god's disciple was only responsible for maintaining order, but he killed him. Moreover, he was a 5-star killing god and had the strength of a region's battle king, but he couldn't even last 10 moves. Fuck. Our Eastern City can't be looked down upon by others. Even if I'm not as good as the disciple, I'll fight until the sky falls and the earth rends. I'll die a worthy death. That's right. No matter what, Eastern City is still an ancient inheritance. How can we stay in seclusion and allow others to clamor? The experts of the immortal sects didn't dare to be humiliated and rushed out of Eastern City. Muyu Tianchen pulled Nangong Qingyue out of the city. His aura rose and he was about to make a move. They really want to make a move. The two of them definitely won't be able to stop the black-clothed devil. Which Dao friend will go and inform the insane sect? If Lord Emperor Yi or Lord Yi Qinghan makes a move, they will definitely be able to stop him outside Eastern City. Then our Eastern City will definitely be glorious. The group of people in the inn were excited as they discussed in deep voices. I'll go and inform the insane sect. Hopefully, we can lure out the 100-battle king. A young king rushed out of the city and headed straight for the periphery of the hunters. Muyu Tianchen's clothes were elegant as he brought Nangong Qingyue out of the city. He saw a black-clothed man emitting killing intent and death energy approaching Eastern City. That person was covered in blood as if he was an expert from hell. Although his face was covered by a black veil, his terrifying eyes made people's hair stand on end. Chapter 291. The black-clothed man used stellar transposition. No one could see any energy fluctuation from him, but he could teleport dozens of miles in an instant and appear outside the city. His terrifying gaze swept over the crowd. The people who had just made a solemn vow were now speechless. I'm here to challenge the heroes of Eastern City. If you don't think you're trash, then come out. The Emperor's son of the human race, the king's bloodline of the demon race, or the head disciple of a Dao realm holy land, you can all come together. The black-clothed man coldly swept his gaze over the crowd and said, "The emperor's son of the human race, the king's bloodline of the myriad races? He's not a human or an expert of the myriad races." Muyo Tianqian frowned and looked at Nangong Qingyue. The two of them were like water and milk, their souls were as one, and their hearts were connected. One look was enough. "What? Are you all trash? You don't even have a chance to breathe?" The black-clothed man mocked. His hoarse voice was like a sharp knife that stabbed into people's hearts. "Fuck, Pucci," a human expert was about to make a move when his throat was pierced by the black-clothed man. Death energy poured into his body and instantly sealed his life force. Everyone's face was pale as they kept retreating until they were behind Muyo Tianqian and Nangong Qingyue. Seeing that they were wearing the robes of the insane sect, they were overjoyed and looked at them with anticipation. They hoped that they would make a move and provoke Yi Qinghan or Emperor Yi. At the very least, they had to provoke Shirgu to come out with a brick and smash it wherever he was unhappy. Other than the King of 100 Battles, who would dare to go against him? Muyo Tianqian patted Nangong Qingyue's shoulder and took a step forward. He looked at the black-clothed man and wasn't in a hurry to make a move. He frowned and asked, "Sir, you're not a human or an expert of the myriad races. Could it be that you're an undead spirit?" The grand Tao of Yang wrapped around the golden body. Yang energy was oppressive, and it countered the black-clothed man's death energy. The black-robed man looked down at Muyo Tianqian and laughed in a hoarse voice. He said coldly, "If you want to know my identity, then we'll have to see how much ability you have. You and that little girl behind you should be cultivating a dual cultivation technique. You've actually comprehended the power of yin and yang. You're perfect for this king. You too can become one with me." Muyo Tianqian smiled indifferently. He was indeed very unlucky. Every time he came out, he would definitely encounter something bad. Last time, he met the emperor of the heavenly spirit cat clan. This time, he actually met a clan of unknown origin. Moreover, their strength was probably not any weaker than the King of 100 Battles. Hee, this guy is out of luck. How dare he provoke the insane sect? I hope that Emperor Yi or Shirgu will come out of seclusion and destroy this bastard. The people behind Nangong Qingyue were discussing. Their voices weren't loud, but they were exceptionally clear. "Quanzong. What was that? I know the savage lands and predict the future, but I've never heard of a sect called the Insane Sect." The corner of the black-robed man's mouth twitched. His 5 claws tore through the void like lightning and went straight for Muyo Tianqian. 9 Suns Heaven Lightning Palm. Hua! Muyo Tianqian didn't retreat. Instead, he attacked with a palm that broke through time and space. Yang energy overflowed into the heavens and swept through the mountains and rivers, causing the people's blood to boil. Boom! The 5 claws tore through the void, but they couldn't break Muyo Tianqian's palm. The two collided and the earth cracked. The aftershock extended to the eastern city, causing the people behind to cough up blood and fly back. Only Nangong Qingyue's clothes fluttered as she narrowed her eyes and looked at the center of the battlefield. Tseng, 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 Muyo Tianqian and the black-robed man retreated at the same time. That one step was enough to crush the earth. The black-robed man retreated 3 steps and looked at his palm. His flesh was badly mangled and the death energy was suppressed by yang energy. The flesh claw emitted a foul smell as if this body had died hundreds of years ago. Muyo Tianqian's palm was suffused with a black color. He retreated a dozen steps until he was in front of Nangong Qingyue. He looked at the black-robed man in shock. He didn't expect this person to be so powerful. Boom! The two used their strength at the same time and quickly recovered their injured bodies. Light exploded as they used the power of the heavens to attack their opponent. Hua, 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 lightning pierced through the galaxy and was caught by Muyo Tianqian. He wanted to use the lightning to kill the black-robed man. Black energy poured out of the black-robed man's body. The death energy was extremely dense and condensed into a large hand that covered the sky. It fiercely slammed towards Mu Yutianshan's body. The two attacks exploded in the sky. The lightning with the strongest yang energy was forcibly torn apart by the black-robed man. Although the large hand that covered the sky became ethereal, it still smashed towards Mu Yutianshan. Shio, 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 Mu Yutianshan's palms formed seals and an even more terrifying lightning extended for thousands of miles. It came from the end of the mountains and rivers and scared the people into crazily rushing towards the city. They ran to the city walls to watch the battle. The array on the city walls emitted a golden light that blocked the two's attacks. Die for me. The black-robed man was still powerful. He flew into the void and his palms slashed through the mountains and rivers, forming a huge 8 trigrams. 2 black dragons formed from death energy covered the sky and blocked the light. The surroundings of the eastern city fell into darkness. Those with unstable Tao hearts were directly scared to death. Huff, 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 violent winds blew and lightning flashed. Lightning intersected and tore apart the darkness. Everyone could clearly see that Mu Yutianshan had transformed into a 1,000 feet long golden body. He brought lightning with him from the endless wilderness. With a page of scriptures protecting his body, he attacked the black-robed man without hesitation. The black-robed man was even more terrifying. The 2 black dragons were vivid and lifelike. They roared towards the sky as if they were alive. Their 5 claws shattered the heavens as they grabbed towards the lightning. Their large mouths swallowed the mountains and rivers, wanting to directly swallow Mu Yutianshan. Nangong Qingyue's clothes fluttered. The great Tao of Yin coiled around her and blocked off all the evil energy. Her eyes stared fixedly at the sky, fearing that something would happen to Mu Yutianshan. This black-robed man was indeed terrifying. Mu Yutianshan's individual combat strength was already comparable to the 100 Battle King, but he was actually suppressed by this person. Outside the eastern city, the river of stars hung upside down and all living things rapidly retreated. The 2 supreme beings of the same realm were crazily fighting. Mu Yutianshan was at the 4th layer of the Immortal Gate while the black-robed man had been displaying the combat strength of the 7th layer of the Immortal Gate. He had been suppressing Mu Yutianshan, forcing him step by step, causing Mu Yutianshan's blood to scatter across the battlefield. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Not only were they shocked by the black-robed man, they were also shocked by Mu Yutianshan. An unknown person from the insane sect who had only crossed a dozen or so regions to gain experience in the endless space could actually have such power. If those 100 Battle Kings appeared, how terrifying would that be? Boom boom boom. Hua hua hua, the 2 people were as fast as lightning and incomparably terrifying. They continuously fought in the void, causing the sky to turn dark. They attacked crazily and the 2 separated once again. Mu Yutianshan's face was filled with death energy. He was defeated outside the city walls and crashed into the great array, coughing out blood incessantly. The black-robed man's clothes were unexpectedly not stained with blood. No matter how Mu Yutianshan attacked, he couldn't break through his defense. Brat, I didn't see that your battle strength is not bad. Unfortunately, your realm is a bit lacking and your defense is a bit lacking. I am curious about the origin of that scripture page on your chest. It can actually block my death energy attack. The black-robed man's voice was hoarse and he didn't attack. Now that the city gates were tightly shut and the array was activated, Mu Yutianshan and Nangong Qingyue couldn't escape from his palm. Mu Yutianshan's eyes were suffused with red light and yang qi shot out in all directions. He tried his best to heal his injured body and block out the death energy. He whispered, he is wearing a pseudo-emperor robe. We can't break through his defense. I will cover you to leave first and find Emperor Yi or Shi Gu. The divine zither or pseudo-extreme emperor weapon in their hands might be able to break through his defense. Can you withstand it? If we work together, even if we can't break through the pseudo-emperor robe, we can still defeat him, right? Nangong Qingyue was worried about Mu Yu Tianchen. Moreover, the two were dual cultivators. If they worked together, their battle strength would definitely increase by 10 times. It's useless. Without a pseudo-emperor weapon, it's impossible to cause him any harm. Mu Yu Tianchen's voice sank and he forcefully ordered, quickly go back. I can withstand it. No. This person wants to kill. Even if we can't break through his defense, at least he can't kill you. Nangong Qingyue stepped forward and stood shoulder to shoulder with Mu Yu Tianchen. With the power of yin and yang, Mu Yu Tianchen's injuries were instantly healed and his vitality was rich. Kakik, it's actually the sun-moon yin-yang dual cultivation technique. With the vitality of the two of you, it might be able to help me break through my shackles and achieve the great Tao. The black-robed man was overjoyed and no longer hesitated. His palms turned jet black and the surrounding laws were forcefully conscripted as he crazily pounced at the two. This person is an undead spirit. I didn't expect an undead spirit to be able to walk out of the forbidden grounds now. Mu Yu Tianchen could instantly confirm that this child was definitely an undead spirit. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to recognize the sun-moon yin-yang dual cultivation technique. Without hesitation, he clasped his hands together with Nangong Qingyue. Yin and yang merged and the two seemed to have fused into one. With one hand each, they formed seals at the same time. Yin and yang, the sun and moon appeared at the same time. With a push of their palms, the sun and moon appeared and pierced through the void. The scorching sun and moon radiated light in all directions and suppressed everything as they charged at the black-robed man. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, the temperature outside Eastern City rose as if the sun and moon were truly rising. It wanted to burn 10,000 miles and activate the array within the quasi-emperor robe. The emperor's might was vast and mighty, completely activating the Eastern City's great defensive array and alarming the experts thousands of miles away. Humph! The light of a firefly dares to compete with the brilliance of the moon. The black-robed man coldly snorted. His palms formed into fists and smashed towards the sun and moon like sharp swords, wanting to forcefully suppress the two. Boom! The killing power of the three soared into the starry river. The light of the sun and moon shone brightly, terrifying the heavens. Thud thud thud, Nangong Qingyue and Mu Yu Tianchen's defense was indeed inferior to the black-robed man. His quasi-emperor robe allowed him to unleash all of his power without any misgivings. Coupled with the might of the quasi-emperor robe, he directly sent the two flying. However, he also didn't have it easy. He was suppressed by the power of the sun, moon, and yin and yang, and a large amount of his death chi was destroyed. Pfff. The three of them simultaneously coughed out blood and flew backwards. Their essence blood dyed the sky red. Under the radiance of the sun and moon, it made the myriad races' hair stand on end. This black-robed man is too terrifying. He can definitely be compared to the 100-battle king. This pair of dual cultivators is actually so terrifying. However, they didn't show how terrifying they were in the endless space. People from the insane sect don't use common sense to speculate. Although there aren't many experts from the Dao Realm Holy Lands that have recovered, they are still Dao Realm Holy Lands. The 100-battle king in the entire endless universe isn't as numerous as the insane sect. It's a pity that the insane sect's requirements are too high. Otherwise, I would be willing to join the insane sect even if I had to kneel outside the gate for 3 days and 3 nights. Only such a demon would dare to show killing intent towards the insane sect. The people outside the city walls discussed animatedly, all of them anticipating the appearance of the insane sect's experts. Outside the insane sect, a youth crazily shouted, attracting the attention of a group of young disciples. When they realized that he was actually a messenger, they immediately notified Yi Qinghan. When Yi Qinghan heard the news, his eyes flashed as he ordered people to seal off the insane sect. He then summoned the devouring soul god eagle and rushed towards the eastern city. Chapter 292. Asterisk whoosh whoosh whoosh, asterisk the distance between the two cities was less than 10,000 miles. The experts of the immortal sects needed 4 hours. Yi Qinghan used the god-slaying eagle and spread its wings. It only took half an incense stick's worth of time to reach the eastern city. Its wings covered the sky and rolled up the mountains and rivers. Yi Qinghan stood on the head of the god-slaying eagle and looked down at the ground. He found that Muyo Tianqian and Nangong Qingyue didn't gain any advantage. Instead, they suffered a great loss. He then looked at the black-clothed man. Even if the quasi-emperor armor didn't recover, the two of them couldn't do anything. The insane sect was inferior to the super forces. First, they suffered a great loss in terms of weapons and defense. However, their combat strength wasn't inferior to them. Seeing that someone was using the quasi-emperor robe and divine martial Dao soldiers to bully Muyo Tianqian and Nangong Qingyue, beating them until their flesh and blood splattered everywhere, dyeing the city walls red, he immediately flew into a rage. Stop! A hoarse voice that contained a supreme will swept across the sky and suppressed 10,000 Dao. The soul-killing technique had been cultivated to the small success stage. His words were his will. Muyo Tianqian was overjoyed. He didn't dare to be entangled and shot towards the void with Nangong Qingyue. Another one that wants to die. Suppress. The black-clothed man sneered and waved his hand. The seal in his hand suppressed 10,000 miles and shattered the void. It kept growing as if it was going to suppress the entire eastern city. Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed. He looked up and felt that the sky was about to collapse. His pupils shrank when he saw the words, human race, engraved on the seal. How was this a divine martial Dao weapon? It was clearly the dragon-subduing seal. It was a quasi-emperor weapon that was forged by the ancient human emperor when he was a quasi-emperor. It was a set with the dragon-subduing seal. With the weapon and the secret technique combined, a quasi-emperor could definitely suppress a quasi-emperor. Unfortunately, the dragon-subduing seal was sealed and couldn't release any emperor aura. However, this aura alone was enough to surpass an ordinary divine martial Dao weapon. Screech! The god-slaying eagle was horrified. It couldn't withstand the dragon-subduing seal's aura at all. It screamed miserably and kept flapping the sky. It wanted to leave, but it couldn't control its body at all. It was as if the dragon-subduing seal was suppressing it. No wonder you're so arrogant. Are you relying on the dragon-subduing seal and the quasi-emperor robe? Yi Qinghan tapped the ground with the tip of his foot and rushed up. The Renhuang's protection and the sword of Renhuang's might shook the sky and shattered the void. There was nothing it couldn't break, nothing it couldn't break. The Renhuang's aura spread in all directions, shaking countless Shenwu cultivators. Seeing the two young men collide in an instant, their pupils shrank and the entire eastern city trembled. They couldn't help but gasp. Boom! After all, the dragon-subduing seal was a pseudo-extreme Dao Emperor weapon. Furthermore, it had yet to awaken. How could it possibly block the attack of the human sovereign's guardian sword? It was directly knocked over by the human sovereign's sword. The black-robed man was sent flying while spurting out blood. Even his quasi-emperor robe was almost shattered. Puff! The black-clothed man was shocked and said angrily, "Kid, you dare to use the mortal emperor's sword to attack me? I'll annihilate your entire family. I think you're the one who's courting death. How dare you use a quasi-emperor weapon and the dragon-subduing seal to bully my insane sex people? I'll kill you even if I have to go to your hometown." Yi Qinghan was enraged. He raised his sword and slashed. He didn't care about the sword technique, he just used it as a saber. Heaven-punishing berserk style, die. Boom. The sky was directly cut in half. The human sovereign's sword was indeed aggrieved. It even regretted that the host it chose didn't use a sword. The human sovereign's guardian sword was actually used as a saber. Although its aura was more domineering, it lacked the bearing of an emperor. Boom. The human sovereign's sword was unwilling to awaken and allowed Yi Qinghan to slash at the dragon-subduing seal. As a result, Yi Qinghan could only rely on his own sharpness to fight back. However, this was enough. After all, the dragon-subduing seal had not awakened. Yi Qinghan's origin Dao body had awakened, and his strength was boundless. The azure dragon bloodline erupted, and his aura was overwhelming. Before the rain could get close, it was shaken into nothingness by his aura. Yi Qinghan was powerful and domineering. To be able to use the human sovereign's sword as a berserk saber, he was definitely unprecedented. The black-clothed man fled in all directions. He didn't dare to resist at all, for fear that the dragon-subduing seal would be cut in half. Whoosh! With a slash of the sword, the black-clothed man's arm was almost cut off. Black gas burst out from his body, but the black-clothed man didn't feel any pain at all. An undead spirit? How dare you? Relying on the quasi-emperor weapon and the dragon-subduing seal? I'll make you stay here today. Yi Qinghan sneered. This kind of creature relied on its soul to live. Today, he would completely destroy its soul. Soul-killing technique. Boom. Ah. Just as Yi Qinghan's voice rang out, the black-clothed man's body swayed. He felt that his sea of consciousness was almost pierced through by the sword. A mournful scream filled the sky. The physical body wasn't afraid of pain, but the soul was. He coughed up blood and flew backward. He had the quasi-emperor weapon to protect his physical body, but not his soul. In addition, he wasn't prepared for Yi Qinghan's soul attack. He was instantly injured. Only then did he realize that although Yi Qinghan's cultivation realm was low, his combat strength wasn't inferior to his. Wait. Who are you? The black-clothed man flew backward continuously. He wanted to tear through the void and escape, but Yi Qinghan had already controlled the space within 100 miles. If he dared to escape through the alternate space, Yi Qinghan would dare to bury him in the space-time turbulence. Arrogant sex idiot. I've said it before. Whoever dares to use their cultivation realm and weapons to bully my arrogant sex people must die. You are no exception. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan couldn't be bothered to speak nonsense with the black-clothed man. Since the black-clothed man used his weapon to bully Mu Yu, Tianchen, and Nangong Qingyue, then the black-clothed man wouldn't say anything if he used the mortal sovereign sword to bully them. One sword flattening the heavens. The heavy berserk style was repeated and repeated. There was no need to use a second secret technique because other secret techniques were useless against the black-clothed man. They couldn't break through his defense. He could only rely on the mortal sovereign sword. The black-clothed man was sullen. He was forced to use the dragon-suppressing seal by Mu Yu, Tianchen, and Nangong Qingyue. Now, the other party was using the mortal sovereign sword to humiliate him. He couldn't resist at all. Brat, don't go too far. What kind of ability is it to rely on the mortal sovereign sword? The black-clothed man roared and retreated. His quasi-emperor armor was torn apart by the mortal sovereign sword. His supreme invincible defense was nothing but bullshit, unable to withstand a single blow. Haha, you rely on the quasi-emperor armor and dragon-suppressing seal? You have to pay for what you've done. If you rely on divine weapons, you should think that others will also rely on divine weapons to suppress you. Yi Qinghan laughed maniacally. He crushed the heavens with his feet and moved forward with his sword. The cold light pierced through everything and surrounded the black-clothed man. Humph, do I need a quasi-emperor weapon to kill you? If you have the guts, let's not use the extreme Dao Emperor weapon. Watch me kill you with one hand. The black-clothed man panted. His black blood poured down along with the rain, looking extremely terrifying. Is that so? Then take off your quasi-emperor robe and see if I can kill you or not. Yi Qinghan sneered in disdain. A ray of light flashed across his eyes and he wanted to snatch the dragon-suppressing seal. Now that the dragon-suppressing seal was in Zi Tian's hands, he could cultivate it together for a period of time. It would be equivalent to him having another extreme Dao Emperor weapon. All right. I want to see how you're going to kill me today. The black-clothed man's consciousness moved and the quasi-emperor armor returned to his hand. He kept it in his Qianquan ring. Yi Qinghan sneered. He flipped his palm and the mortal sovereign's sword disappeared and returned to his sea of consciousness. However, his consciousness moved the divine martial imperial code. Kill. The black-clothed man waved the seal and tore the void apart. He charged toward Yi Qinghan to suppress him. The emperor descends from the heavens, suppress him. The divine martial imperial code suddenly exploded. It was accompanied by a huge hand that covered the sky. It instantly pierced through the void like an emperor descending. The divine martial imperial code became even more terrifying. It kept growing bigger and bigger. It was like a huge canopy that fell from the sky and crashed onto the black-clothed man. Whoosh! The black-clothed man's body was smashed into pieces. The dragon-suppressing seal was sent flying a few thousand meters away and crashed into the array of the city wall. Poof! The black-clothed man was hit until he saw stars. He was smashed deep into the ground. There was not a single piece of his body that was intact. Especially his right arm, it was smashed into nothingness. The deathly aura dissipated and his soul was almost shattered into pieces by the divine martial imperial code. Fuck your ancestor. How dare you, cough cough, trick me. Divine martial imperial code. How many extreme Dao Emperor weapons do you have? The black-clothed man was furious. He rushed out from the ground in a sorry state. Not many, but it's enough to kill you. Yi Qinghan's power was overwhelming. He formed seals with his palms and summoned the palatial Buddha pagoda. It turned into a huge pagoda and was about to destroy the eastern city. Poof! Countless experts standing on the city wall coughed up blood. They looked at Yi Qinghan outside the city in shock. It was as if a young human emperor had appeared and could suppress anyone. Boom! The ground kept cracking. The palatial Buddha pagoda enveloped the black-clothed man. It was about to suppress and purify him. Suddenly, the space between heaven and earth froze. Everything was still. A huge hand reached out from the wilderness and grabbed the black-clothed man. It then grabbed the dragon-suppressing seal. Yi Qinghan was furious. He did not care what the realm behind this huge hand was. Anyone who dared to snatch his spoils of war was an enemy. Emperor's sword, come out. The divine martial imperial code trembled and shattered the frozen space. Yi Qinghan moved smoothly. He held the emperor's sword and slashed at the huge hand. He did not want to injure the enemy, but he wanted the enemy to give up on the dragon-suppressing seal. Humph, kid, you are the first one in thousands of years who dares to attack this emperor. A deep voice pierced through the void. The cold snort contained a terrifying will. It was as if it wanted to kill countless experts. It caused the heaven and earth to become deathly silent. Even the great Tao was forbidden. However, the huge hand in the void stopped moving forward. It only grabbed the black-clothed man and retreated. That terrifying existence was not afraid of Yi Qinghan. It was afraid that the emperor's sword and the divine martial imperial code would awaken at the same time. Yi Qinghan did not care. He reached out and snatched the dragon-suppressing seal. After getting the dragon-suppressing seal, Yi Qinghan realized who the other party was. A great emperor. A great emperor-level existence. Otherwise, it would be impossible for a will to take away the young black-clothed man. It would also be impossible for the surrounding space and time to freeze. Thinking of this, Yi Qinghan's body trembled. He actually attacked a great emperor today. Fortunately, he was apprehensive of the emperor's sword and the divine martial imperial code. Otherwise, he would have died here today. The eastern city was deathly silent. They looked at Yi Qinghan in shock. It was more terrifying than seeing a ghost. This guy was too daring. He dared to snatch something from a great emperor. It was as he said. He was just an ordinary man, and an extremely daring one. Mu Tianchen was also trembling. He saw clearly that the other parties will formed a huge hand shadow. It contained a bit of soul spirit and could cross countless miles of mountains and rivers. It could cross mountains and rivers to save people from the end of the wilderness. The other party was obviously a great emperor. It was very likely that he was a great emperor from the Forbidden Grounds. Yi Qinghan had blasphemed against the great emperor's prestige. It was fortunate that he did not die. Chapter 293. Outside the eastern city, Yi Qinghan held the emperor's sword, protected his golden body with the Paladin Pagoda, and protected his soul with the divine martial imperial codex. He looked at the depths of the wilderness cautiously. Brat, you're blaspheming the emperor's prestige. You'll die without a burial place. Just you wait, I'll make sure that the arrogant sect will never have a day of peace. The emperor of the Forbidden Grounds ignored the distance and scolded Yi Qinghan. It was as if he was right in front of him. Yi Qinghan's mouth twitched. He didn't expect a great emperor to be behind the black-robed man. However, the other party didn't dare to attack as he was wary of the divine martial imperial codex and the emperor's sword. He snorted coldly. Is a great emperor so shameless as to threaten the younger generation? The matters of the younger generation should be settled by the younger generation. Why are you interfering? You think using the emperor's sword and the divine martial imperial codex is a skill? The black-robed man used the great emperor's secret technique to project the imperial domain. His body was covered in blood and his quasi-emperor robe was smashed. He glared at Yi Qinghan and couldn't wait to charge at him again. I don't think using the divine martial imperial codex is a skill. You think using the quasi-emperor robe and the dragon subduing seal to bully the people of the arrogant sect is a skill? Using the emperor's weapon to crush those of the same level, no matter how powerful you are, you can't prove your Tao. Yi Qinghan was strong. So what if he had a great emperor behind him? It was just reason. If the other party was unreasonable, then he would fight. At most, he would go to the ancestral land to ask for the emperor's corpse. You're Yi Qinghan, the sect master of the arrogant sect. Remember this. When I come out of seclusion, I don't need any high-grade weapons. I'll definitely erase the arrogant sect from the history of the human race. The black-robed man said coldly. I'll wait for you. If we're of the same level, I'll kill you like a dog. Yi Qinghan sneered, holding the emperor's guardian sword tightly. The divine martial experts in the airspace above the eastern city, as well as the pseudo-emperors and quasi-emperors of the Emperor Abyss City, were all sweating profusely. Yi Qinghan was too domineering. It was one thing for him to not give face to the 12 Saint Royal clans and the royal families of the myriad races, but now, he actually dared to go against the emperor of a forbidden ground. Was there anything he didn't dare to do? Actually, Yi Qinghan was not a rash person. If the great emperor in the Forbidden Grounds could appear, he would have done so a long time ago. Why wait until now? Since he couldn't even leave the forbidden area, why should he be afraid of him? It might be possible to intimidate others with just his will, but it was absolutely impossible to intimidate Yi Qinghan. The black-robed man's projection dissipated, but the ferocious light in his eyes still remained in the world. Yi Qinghan flew back to the god-slaying eagle's back and looked at Muyo Tianchen and Nangong Qingyue bathing in the river of blood. He immediately threw out a few grade 7 saint pills to the two of them and rode the god-slaying eagle into the sky. In the airspace above the Emperor Abyss City, more than 10 quasi-emperors looked at each other and wiped the sweat from their foreheads. They discussed in a low voice, Yi Qinghan is truly daring. This bastard will stir up big trouble sooner or later. That's right. Daring to go against a great emperor, and a little immortal sect rookie at that. This bastard's guts are absolutely unprecedented. The Azure Dragon quasi-emperor's mouth twitched as he coldly snorted. It's still better than being a coward. What can he do if he doesn't act tough at this time? Kneel down and beg for mercy? That's right. I support this child's attitude. The Forbidden Grounds and the human race can't be reconciled in the first place. There's no difference between good and bad attitudes. So what if he's a great emperor? His will can crush us, but in front of the Guardian Sword and the Divine Martial Imperial Codex, he can only cower in the Forbidden Grounds. He can only clamor. Yi Qinghan didn't give him face, so he can only let the younger generation come out and act arrogantly. Xia Qintian smiled coldly and spoke up for Yi Qinghan. Some people were weak and didn't dare and didn't want to fall out with the Forbidden Grounds at this time. However, there were also many people who were hawkish and advocated for a tough stance. The tougher the human race was, the more the Forbidden Grounds wouldn't push their luck. In the Quang sect, the parrot already knew everything. When it saw Yi Qinghan return, it knelt on the ground with a plop and cried out. Master, I beg you to cancel the contract. My young heart can't bear such great pressure. I only offended a few juniors. You're too daring. If you didn't offend the Ghost Emperor, then you offended the Great Emperor. You want me to admit defeat? I beg you, spare me. The corner of Yi Qinghan's mouth twitched. He looked down indifferently at the parrot grabbing his trousers and begging, as if it really wanted to leave. You want to leave? Are you sure? Yi Qinghan's voice was hoarse as he coldly asked. I'm sure. I'm very sure that if I follow you, I'll definitely die an unnatural death. Seeing as I've always been loyal and devoted, please allow me to leave on my own and find my own direction. The parrot wailed and trembled all over. It was truly scared silly by Yi Qinghan's courage. Everyone looked at each other. They had never seen such a spirit pet in their lives. It actually begged its master to cancel the contract. The corner of Zi Tian's mouth twitched. He was confused by this so-called Big Brother divine bird. This parrot was high and mighty in front of everyone, but in front of Yi Qinghan, it only cried and begged. It was no longer as carefree as it was in the endless space. Was this really the Big Brother that he recognized in the endless space? Won't you regret it? Yi Qinghan took a deep breath, clenched his fist, and asked in a deep voice. Absolutely not. The parrot solemnly promised. Its determination to leave was like the water of the Yellow River. It would never go against the flow. Good. I will fulfill your wish. Yi Qinghan said firmly. The parrot was overjoyed. Before it could express its gratitude, Yi Qinghan looked at Emperor Yi and continued, My son, gather all the members of the Quang sect. Today, we will eat barbecued meat. Plop, the parrot knelt down completely. Looking at Yi Qinghan's murderous eyes, it no longer cared about its face. It hurriedly stood up, spread its wings, and took a few steps back. It said righteously, Master, I have decided to advance and retreat with the Quang sect. I am your spirit pet in life, and I want to die with the soul of the Quang sect. Master is handsome, elegant, and dignified. This divine bird speculates that Master must be the future emperor of the human race, the supreme existence of the endless universe. Great Emperor or Ghost Emperor? So what if I offend him? My master offends them because he is giving them face. You don't have to advance and retreat with me. I will get you killed. Yi Qinghan mocked disdainfully. Master, you can humiliate my body, but you cannot insult my soul. This divine bird has a noble godhead. I am the future emperor of all races. How can I be afraid of death? How can I betray the Kuang sect? How can I betray you? The parrot vowed solemnly, completely forgetting its previous pleading. The corners of everyone's mouth twitched as they tried to hold back their laughter. Tian clenched his iron fist and thought to himself, is this really Brother Divine Bird? Yi Qinghan narrowed his eyes and stared at the divine soul-devouring eagle. The corners of his mouth rose slightly as he mocked, you won't regret this time, will you? I swear to advance and retreat with the Kuang sect. This divine bird watched these children grow up. How can I let them be bullied? Anyone who dares to go against the Kuang sect is going against this divine bird. Anyone who dares to bully the disciples of the Kuang sect is bullying this divine bird. Those people will not have a good ending. At this moment, the parrot's soul rose instantly. It was as great as the great emperor, majestic, noble, and inviolable. Yi Qinghan restrained his murderous intent. This divine soul-devouring eagle was too cunning. It seemed to be loyal to Yi Qinghan and the Kuang sect, but in fact, it was not like that. If it could survive at the critical moment, it would even betray the emperor. Yi Qinghan would never break the contract. The people of the Kuang sect were laughing in their hearts. They were gloating over the parrot's misfortune. This guy was unwilling to lose to anyone. Finally, there was someone who could suppress it so that it would not dare to talk nonsense. However, Tian's heart was in turmoil. His face turned purple, feeling that he had been disgraced by the parrot. Fortunately, the one who suppressed it was Yi Qinghan, its master. Otherwise, he would have cleaned up the sect himself. I believe you. Remember, if the Kuang sect is destroyed, I will die too. If I die, you will be buried with me. Don't think about leaving all day. Do you think I will be as stupid as the others and be fooled by you? Yi Qinghan threw down a Qianquan ring, slapping the parrot's face. He immediately said, here are 37th grade sacred herbs, at least 300 6th grade supreme herbs, and more than 1,000 5th grade herbs. It will be enough for you to use for a while. When you are done, come and ask me for more. The parrot also felt that it had angered Yi Qinghan. It immediately rushed up and stood on his shoulder, crying, Master, how can I bear to leave you? I was just joking. Please don't take it to heart. I can't bear to leave you. Even if the seas dry up and the rocks decay, the sky falls and the earth rends, I will die with you. The corners of Yi Qinghan's mouth curled up. He didn't want to waste any more words with the parrot. This thing could climb to the heavens if given a stick, so he turned to Emperor Yi and Li Jiuchong and said, My son, Jiuchong, take these medicinal pills and go to the myriad tribes that made the deal with us. Give them their share and collect some materials while you're at it. The higher the grade, the better. Mu Yu Tianchen and Nangong Qingyue's battle against the black-clothed man showed the weakness of the Kuang sect. Their weapons and defense were too weak. Now that they had a 7th grade fire source, it was time to make some divine weapons for the Kuang sect. Li Jiuchong fought steadily. His realm was still at the great revered realm, but he was Yi Qinghan's most trusted disciple. He was mature, steady, and had a strong sense of danger. Perhaps it was because he was a hunter in the past. His survival instincts were much stronger than others. As long as he experienced more and saw more, he would definitely become a mainstay of the Kuang sect. Li Jiuchong didn't expect Yi Qinghan to trust him so much and give him such an important task. He was quite happy and said respectfully, Master, this disciple will complete the task perfectly. And, I'm assured with your work. When you come back, come to my alchemy room. I have something to talk to you about. Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed. He wanted to train Li Jiuchong. Yi Qinghan rarely summoned his disciples alone. Only Emperor Yi followed him all day. After all, Emperor Yi had been with Yi Qinghan since they were young. It was natural for them to have a deep relationship. However, Li Jiuchong was different. His cultivation time was short and his talent wasn't too outstanding. The reason why Yi Qinghan wanted to train him was because of his will to protect. His loyalty was irreplaceable. His will to protect the Kuang sect was like protecting little Li. Unless he died, no one could hurt little Li. Li Jiuchong knew that his opportunity had come. He bowed deeply and went straight to Emperor Abyss City with Emperor Yi. Chapter 294. In the insane sect, all the disciples had obtained precious elixirs and sacred elixirs. Each of them had hundreds of 5th grade, 6th grade, and 7th grade sacred elixirs. The purpose of refining elixirs was to strengthen the insane sect. Yi Qinghan did not have the bad habit of keeping elixirs to himself. The stronger the insane sect and the stronger the disciples, the happier he would be. The more people who could surpass him in terms of combat strength, he would definitely do his best to nurture them. The disciples of the insane sect also knew how to be grateful. They respected and trusted Yi Qinghan like a father. There was no need to guard against him. The cohesion of the insane sect was not something that other sects and families could compare to. After Yi Qinghan finished his work, he brought the parrot to Zitian. Brother Zitian, I'm willing to exchange a supreme treasure for the secret technique of the dragon subduing seal. Just tell me what you need. I'll definitely get it for you. Yi Qinghan said in a deep voice. Zitian was stunned. The secret technique of the dragon subduing seal? The parrot did seem to have given him a secret technique of the dragon subduing seal. However, the most important thing now was to awaken the Qilin bloodline. He did not care about the secret technique at all. Now that he was reminded by Yi Qinghan, he moved his fingertips and took out the secret technique of the dragon subduing seal. He handed it to Yi Qinghan and said indifferently, "This was given to me by Brother Divine Bird. It's yours. There's no need to exchange it." Yi Qinghan shook his head and said with a smile, "What Divine Bird gave you is yours. I need this secret technique because I've obtained the pseudo-extreme Dao Emperor weapon, the dragon subduing seal. They're a set and their combat strength is limitless. If they're separated, they won't be of much use. So, the secret technique of the dragon subduing seal is very important to me. I won't take advantage of you. You've obtained the dragon subduing seal. Hasn't it disappeared for a long time?" Zitian's pupils shrank. He was extremely shocked. The combination of the dragon subduing seal and the secret technique of the dragon subduing seal was an existence that could suppress the azure dragon. It was definitely comparable to an emperor weapon. It was a coincidence, so you don't have to feel embarrassed. I've never mistreated my brothers. Yi Qinghan said in a serious tone. Zitian laughed bitterly as he shook his head and said, "I don't lack anything at all right now, and it's impossible for you to obtain the things I lack." Yi Qinghan frowned. Zitian had the bloodline of a Qilin, and it was very pure. The only thing he needed to do now was to cause his blood to undergo atavism, to fill it with the power of the ancient Qilin blood. The parrot had given him a drop, but there was no guarantee that he would be able to undergo atavism. If he failed, then it would be a waste, and it would be much more difficult to find a second drop. You want the Qilin blood essence? Yi Qinghan asked doubtfully. Zitian nodded and spoke truthfully. I don't dare waste this drop of blood essence. If I'm able to combine it with 2 drops of blood essence, then I'll have a 70% chance of atavism. If I have 3 drops of blood essence, then I'll have an 80% chance of atavism. Once atavism occurs, then my combat strength will rise without limit. That's enough for him to have a 50% chance of attaining the Tao. I'll try my best. Yi Qinghan's expression was solemn. Qilin blood essence was not something ordinary. It was the blood essence of a real divine beast Qilin. The divine beast Qilin had gone extinct a long time ago, and its remaining blood essence was even rarer than monarch weapons. It was very difficult to find, and even if it was found, no one would be willing to sell it. Xia Qiantian had 3 drops of essence blood, but they were of very low quality. Unlike the drop of essence blood rewarded by the human emperor, which was most likely taken from a Qilin who was about to prove his Tao, Xia Qiantian's 3 drops of essence blood were probably taken from a Qilin who was at most in the divine martial realm. There was a clear difference between the 2 drops of essence blood. However, even if Yi Qinghan knew that Xia Qiantian had Qilin blood essence, it was already too late. Because as soon as Xia Ziluo and Xia Qiyue returned to the Heavenly Dragon Sacred Dynasty, Xia Qiantian gave 2 drops of blood essence to each of them, leaving only 1 drop with him. After leaving Ziluo's residence, Yi Qinghan returned to his alchemy room and continued to cultivate and study the dragon-suppressing seal. The dragon-suppressing seal was a secret technique created by the human emperor when he was young. It was broad and profound, and just by looking at it, one could feel that there was room for improvement. Yi Qinghan eagerly read the secret technique to make up for his shortcomings. He revised the Extreme Emperor Return Origin and Emperor Heaven Descend secret techniques, making them stronger and stronger. His 9 Heavens Tyrant Dragon art also improved a lot. 2 hours later, Yi Qinghan's soul was extremely tired. The dragon-suppressing seal was a secret technique created by the human emperor when he was still a fake emperor. It already had emperor's might. Even if he cultivated it diligently, it would still take some time. Putting away the secret technique, Yi Qinghan took out the dragon-suppressing seal and found that it had been sealed by a monarch-level formation. Summoning the human sovereign sword, he respectfully asked, "I wonder if Lord Guardian can help me break this monarch-level formation and revive the dragon-suppressing seal." The human sovereign sword lightly shook and knocked on the monarch-level formation on the dragon-suppressing seal. The sword spirit said, "No, this monarch-level formation was created when he was at the peak of the great emperor. At most, I can break the outer seal, but I can't break the inner seal. However, it is enough for you to drip your blood on it and nourish it with your soul. After many years of accumulation, the dragon-suppressing seal will break the seal on its own." Yi Qinghan was overjoyed. As long as he could drip his blood on it, it would be enough. The human sovereign sword was revived, and the monarch-level formation was broken. The dragon-suppressing seal released a terrifying pressure. Even if it only broke the seal a little, it was enough to make the world respect it. Ren Huangyi and Li Jiuchong stepped into Imperial Abyss City and took out the account book from that time. They gathered close to 100 clans and distributed pills of the 5th tier and above in person. This was much more than the 20% that they had agreed upon. This tempted even more clans. Benefits were paramount. Cooperating with the 12 great sacred royal clans and the sovereign family was far less beneficial than cooperating with the Xuanzong. They secretly made up their minds and began to mobilize the precious materials in their clans. Emperor Yi collected the materials, and Li Jiuchong was responsible for recording them. They quickly collected a large number of materials. Emperor Yi smiled, very satisfied with the harvest this time. "Everyone, I will come to this inn again in a month. I hope you will meet me as promised. I will give you all the pills you have. My master also said that if you have the best refining materials, we will accept them. Even if they are monarch-level weapon materials, as long as you can take them out, we will buy them. Moreover, the price will definitely satisfy you. We will not exploit you." Emperor Ye's voice was like the sound of nature. She looked so lively that people could not help but want to get close to her. Although her eyes were closed, it did not affect her temperament. The people of the insane sect are straightforward. We are relieved. With Emperor Ye's guarantee, we are absolutely assured. Everyone was delighted and cupped their fists. Then I will take my leave. Seniors, please go ahead. Emperor Yi finished speaking and left Emperor Abyss City with Li Jiuchong. Outside the city, on a barren mountain 300 miles away, at least hundreds of experts gathered. They were all pseudo-emperors. They were all experts of the myriad races and major forces of the human race. They did not have the ability to forge 7th-grade pills, so they could only cooperate with the Dao Realm Holy Lands and Saint Royal clans. They did not dare to directly look for the insane sect in front of so many boundary emperors. They could only wait here secretly. This was the place Emperor Yi had to pass through to return to the insane sect. Emperor Yi noticed them and came here with the god-slaying eagle. He was not worried that they would mess around. Emperor Yi, I am the Grand Elder of the Kuan-Tang tribe. I would like to trade some materials with the insane sect. Emperor Yi, I am the sect leader of the human race's Celestial Master sect. I would also like to trade with the insane sect. In an instant, more than 100 experts spoke at once, revealing their purpose. Ren Huangyi rejoiced inwardly. The materials for this transaction were of much higher quality than the previous batch, so he accepted all of them. Yi Qinghan's alchemy speed was very fast. He had a good fire source and a good alchemy furnace. The only problem was the strength of his spiritual core and soul. Li Zhuchong was beaming with joy. A silly smile appeared on his heavy face. He recorded everything one by one. After this matter was done, he just had to wait for Yi Qinghan's reward. After collecting the materials and agreeing on the location of the trade, he took Li Zhuchong on the god-slaying eagle and flew straight to the insane sect. However, when they were more than 2,000 miles away from the insane sect and only 300 miles away from the hunter's territory, they were stopped by a group of people. They looked very young and dressed very strangely. Their clothes were very similar to that of the ancient times. Their temperament was extraordinary, and their combat strength was very frightening even when they were restrained. Li Zhuchong frowned and took out a divine bow, looking at the crowd warily. 17th uncle, she is Emperor Yi. She has the zither immortal crimson demon body. If she marries you, the next generation will definitely be able to prove Dao and become a real supreme emperor. A young man who was at least as strong as a king of the endless universe bowed to the young leader and said. Diwu Tianhe was a reclusive aristocratic family. His surname was Diwu. It was a very ancient surname that could be traced back to the ancient times. The Diwu family had a long history and was very powerful. They were definitely not inferior to the Dao Realm Holy Lands. Diwu Tianhe was definitely an expert among experts. The few followers around him had the combat strength of a 5-star killer god. It could be seen that his combat strength was not any weaker than Chitian Monkey King. Diwu Tianhe was like a jade. He was 8 feet tall and had an imposing appearance. He wore a white robe and looked very elegant. His eyes were deep as he looked down at Emperor Yi. Light flashed in his eyes and he kept nodding to show that he was very satisfied. Emperor Yi frowned. These guys were really bold. How dare they come to the border of the insane sect to kidnap him? Were they kicked in the head by a donkey? Emperor Yi, come with me. Diwu Tianhe's consciousness was high as he ordered. Are you okay? Have you become stupid? If you have nothing to do, get lost. Emperor Yi was not polite to others. Moreover, the other party was of unknown origin. Their words were so disrespectful and even insulting to him. Hence, he immediately reprimanded them. Kill the people around her. Diwu Tianhe placed his hands behind his back and said coldly. All right. I'll do it. A follower rushed out and was about to attack. Think carefully before you act. I never show mercy to my enemies. If you dare to move a finger, I'll take your life. Emperor Yi opened his eyes and stared at the follower of the immortal sect level 5. The destructive light instantly covered the follower's body. Ah! Diwu Tianhe screamed. His immortal sect Dao robe was instantly pierced. The destructive aura rushed into his body and destroyed his vitality. Diwu Tianhe's eyes flashed and he smirked. He waved his hand and a different kind of sky appeared in the space. It blocked the destructive aura of the Tao of destruction and extinguished the destructive aura on the follower's body. It was so powerful that it was terrifying. Your combat strength is not bad. You're indeed suitable to be my woman. Give birth to my son and prove my Tao. Diwu Tianhe said. Fuck your mother's bullshit, eldest senior sister is not someone you can touch. Li Jiuzhong was furious. He pulled the string of the immortal sect divine bow and the arrow tore through the void. The sharp arrow sped forward and arrived in front of Diwu Tianhe. Boom! Diwu Tianhe did not move. He caught the sharp arrow with both hands and his robe fluttered. He did not even blink. Chapter 295. Diwu Tianhe didn't move at all. He caught the arrow with both hands and his clothes fluttered in the wind. He didn't even blink. Whoosh! Diwu Tianhe flicked his finger, and the arrow flew away from Li Jiuzhong. The sound of the arrow piercing through the sky resounded, and a flaming dragon appeared in the void. It was unstoppable. Buzz! Emperor Yi held the divine Guqin, and his 5 fingers plucked the strings. A strand of melody pierced through the mountains and rivers. It turned into a sharp sword and collided with the sword. Qi soared to the 9 heavens and exploded in the wilderness. The 2 attacks dissipated at the same time, and the ripples in the void could be seen clearly. Screech! The god-slaying eagle screeched and brought Emperor Yi and Li Jiuzhong back dozens of miles. They looked at Diwu Tianhe and his followers vigilantly. They realized that Diwu Tianhe was definitely an expert among experts. Li Jiuzhong gasped and said in shock, "Where did this guy come from? Many ultimate experts of hidden clans haven't shown themselves yet. This is just the first batch." Emperor Yi whispered and said to Li Jiuzhong, "You go back to Emperor Abyss City first. I can't do anything with you here." "No. Senior sister, I'm not as strong as you, but I'm not afraid of death." Li Jiuzhong's expression was grave. The 5th celestial ravine was already very frightening. Coupled with his followers, their battle prowess was not weak either. If Ren Huangyi were to face them alone, it would be more painful than death for him. At this moment, he was extremely furious. His battle prowess was indeed incomparable to these top-notch fighters. Cut the crap. You'll only die if you stay here. If you leave, I'll find a chance to leave too. Emperor Yi scolded coldly. Diwu Tianhe's lips curled into a mocking smile. He said emotionlessly, "Don't go. All of you stay. I'll get whatever I want." Whoosh, 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 as soon as Diwu Tianhe finished speaking, his 7 or 8 followers blocked the path of Emperor Yi and Li Jiuzhong. It was impossible for Li Jiuzhong to leave alone. Emperor Yi took a deep breath and said indifferently, "Your Excellency's combat strength is extraordinary, but instead of contributing to the human race, you commit crimes. How disappointing. I want you to be my woman. You and I will become one and give birth to a child. He will definitely be able to prove his Tao. Isn't this a contribution to the human race?" Diwu Tianhe said proudly. He didn't think that forcefully taking Emperor Yi was humiliating at all. Twisting words and forcing logic. Do you think you're worthy? Even if someone like you confirms the Tao, I can still skin you alive. Emperor Yi was furious. Even now, Diwu Tianhe still dared to speak such arrogant words and disrespect him. Qin. Hum with a long roar, Emperor Yi rushed to a place 1,000 miles away. His indomitable spirit intimidated all the heroes and alerted the more than 100 fake emperors and cultivators at the great completeness of the divine martial arts realm who had left before. They recognized the clothes of the Diwu family and didn't dare to interfere. They all fled into the city and pretended not to see anything. "Little girl, how dare you attack me?" Diwu Tianhe sneered. He swiped his hand across the void and a Taoist scripture appeared. It was very thin, but the emperor's aura was very strong. The heavenly scripture of the Tao Sea was engraved on it. It was the most terrifying secret technique of the ancient times. The fifth great emperor had personally created a weapon that combined emperor weapons and secret techniques. The first page overturned the Zhangxi, the second page overturned the sun and moon, the third page overturned the heaven and earth, the fourth page overturned the great Tao, the fifth page overturned the chaos, and the sixth page overturned the origin. Once the 6 pages of the Taoist scripture appeared, the heaven and earth could be suppressed. The process of the universe's formation could be seen. Even boundary emperors had to retreat. Whoosh, a ray of emperor light surged and the heavenly river roared like the Zhangxi. It wanted to drown the universe and shatter the Taoist hearts of the heroes. It seemed illusory, but it could actually suppress the divine martial arts realm cultivators. 9 arrows chasing moon explosion technique. Whoosh 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 whoosh, 9 consecutive arrows, chasing after the stars and seizing the moon. Each arrow was 10 times stronger than the previous one, and each arrow was 10 times faster than the previous one. The 9 arrows merged into one and formed a sky-destroying arrow. It pierced through the galaxy and headed straight for the Zhangxi. It wanted to break through 10,000 miles and kill Diwu Tianhe. Li Zhichong didn't want to sit around and wait for death. He poured all of his true essence into Emperor Ye's body, hoping to help him. In the battle between the two experts, no matter how many titled emperors intervened, they would all die. It was the same for Li Zhichong. As soon as his hand touched Emperor Ye's clothes, his true essence was sucked dry and he fell onto the back of the god-slaying eagle. Boom! The giant arrow collided with the Zhangxi and the heavenly river. The Zhangxi roiled and the heavenly river collapsed. It was a terrifying scene. The airwaves uprooted the mountains and turned the ancient trees into dust. The heat wave carried a destructive aura that spread 1,000 miles away. Screech! The god-slaying eagle let out a shrill cry. It wanted to block the airwaves, but the aftershock was too terrifying. Its body was almost torn apart. It couldn't block it and was sent flying dozens of miles away. Emperor Ye's spiritual awareness was scattered. The difference between his cultivation level and Diwu Tianhe's was too big. Diwu Tianhe was a 9th-tier immortal gate and a member of the imperial family. His bloodline was superb and he had a monarch weapon. If the human emperor's Guqin didn't awaken, it would be impossible to fight against him. However, the human emperor's Guqin couldn't be awakened at any time. After all, it needed to accumulate energy to prevent the dead spirits from appearing. Diwu Tianhe smiled and said disdainfully, "Your combat strength is not bad. Unfortunately, your cultivation level is too low. You're only a 2nd-tier immortal gate and your body is not as strong as a great martial venerable. How can you fight against me? Come with me now and I'll spare your people. I think you're courting death." Emperor Yi was furious. He sat cross-legged on the god-slaying eagle's head. His clothes danced in the wind and his long hair fluttered in the wind. His 10 fingers plucked the strings of the Guqin. A powerful aura pierced through the shackles and filled the air with killing intent. It was as if a great emperor had descended and the human emperor had fallen. Burial emperors chant. There was a boundless sea of blood between heaven and earth. Corpses of great emperors floated in the air and bones of great emperors were buried. The human emperor was mourning. Emperor Ye's aura was unreachable and inviolable. Diwu Tianhe frowned. He realized that he had offended someone he shouldn't have. If the other party was at the same cultivation level as him, he might have killed him. He immediately made up his mind and didn't want to let Emperor Yi leave. As long as he had sex with Emperor Yi, everything could be solved. Let's end this quickly. Kill the god-slaying eagle and that person. I'll deal with Emperor Yi. Diwu Tianhe gathered all the true essence in his body and activated the heavenly scripture of Tao. He shouted angrily, 2nd page flipping sun and moon appear at the same time. Suppress. Boom. Whoosh. The sun and moon tore through time and space and appeared at the same time. It was as if Diwu Tianhe's palms were pressing down from the void. The god-slaying eagle's body cracked and it screamed in pain. It was thrown off Li Jiufeng and crashed into a mountain. Diwu Tianhe's followers immediately pounced on it. Emperor Yi was furious. It was already good enough that he could stop Diwu Tianhe at this time. How could he stop him from killing Li Jiufeng? You dare to kill the disciples of the insane sect. I, Emperor Yi, will kill all of you while I'm still alive. An angry roar that contained the might of an emperor blasted toward his followers. A trace of Wu made 7 to 8 followers who had the battle prowess of a 5-star god of slaughter cough blood. However, it couldn't kill them and they were allowed to pounce toward the mountain. Armor transformation, combine. Wang, 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 Emperor Yi plucked the strings like a madman. The origin of the great Tao in the world trembled and the earth trembled. The earth trembled, alarming Emperor Abyss City in the insane sect. The aura was so majestic that the human heroes didn't dare to move. The sound of nature with the will rushed into their consciousness and suppressed their speed. The vigorous melody stirred their blood and qi, making them unable to control it. Suppress. Diwu Tianhe's eyes turned red. He mobilized the sun and moon to crush the earth. The god-slaying eagle's wings were broken, and it couldn't fly anymore. It crashed to the ground, and its bones were crushed. It screamed in agony and could only struggle. Emperor Yi coughed up blood. Her physical body wasn't strong and was her weakest point. Her flesh was about to be crushed. If it wasn't for the protection of the human emperor's Guqin, she would have been suppressed long ago. At this moment, she was enduring immense pain, but she gritted her teeth and held on. 7 or 8 followers entered the mountain range. Seeing Li Jiufeng unconscious on the cliff, a cruel smile appeared on their faces, and they were about to attack and kill him. Hong! A cold light flashed, and the 8 king-ranked existences were sent flying out of the mountain. 4 of them were broken at the waist. Divinity shot out in all directions and wiped out their vitality. They couldn't fight back at all. Diwu Tianhe was stunned. He turned around and looked at the valley. He saw a burly man carrying a huge axe walk out of the valley. He looked at the battlefield with disdain. He walked past 4 of Diwu Tianhe's followers who were struggling on the brink of death. He stomped his foot, and energy passed through the ground and killed them. Emperor Yi was overjoyed. She looked at the burly man. Although he was unshaven and unkempt, he had a strong divinity and aura. He was definitely not an evil person. She gritted her teeth and said, "Mister, please save that disciple of the insane sect. The insane sect will never forget your kindness. Don't worry, he won't die. His physical body is strong. It's just a fall. He'll be fine after 7 to 8 days of rest." The burly man's voice was deep and magnetic, just like Yi Qinghan's. "Mister, mind your own business. Get lost. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite." Diwu Tianhe frowned and scolded. "TSK, TSK, TSK. The eldest son of the Diwu family, an existence that has been sealed for 5,000 years, a 9th-tier immortal sect, wants to deal with a little girl who hasn't even grown hair yet. You're a disgrace to the Diwu imperial family." The burly man sneered. "Who are you?" Diwu Tianhe stared at the newcomer and exploded again. He wanted to suppress Emperor Yi first so that he could deal with the newcomer. Crack! The god-slaying eagle's bones broke, and it fainted. The sun and moon spun and sank. A huge hole appeared in the ground. Emperor Yi was still fighting back crazily so that the sun and moon couldn't completely suppress her and the god-slaying eagle. "I'm your second uncle, Nye Tian." The burly man looked at Emperor Yi with disdain and said indifferently, "Do you need my help? Call me uncle, and I'll help you kill him." Emperor Yi let out a muffled groan. His 5 fingers strummed the divine Guqin until his blood and bones broke. He was unwilling to speak. There was only one person worthy of being addressed as uncle. This title held a special meaning in her heart. You're quite stubborn. Don't be stubborn. Even those with royal bloodlines can lose. It's not shameful for you to lose to him. Moreover, this bastard is the direct descendant of the Diwu great emperor, and he has the heavenly scripture of the Tao Sea. It's not a problem for him to suppress the sons of 8th-tier Tao realm immortal sects, let alone a 2nd-tier immortal sect girl like you, Nye Tian said indifferently. Nye Tian. Diwu Tianhe frowned. He had never heard of this name before. He couldn't help but scold coldly, brat, I don't care who you are. Get lost, or don't blame me for suppressing you too. Fuck your ancestor. How dare you bully my sister? I'll smash you to death. A terrifying voice resounded through the mountains and rivers. The Emperor's aura tore through space and approached the battlefield rapidly. Chapter 296. Swoosh. Shurgo smashed through the void with the big golden brick and rushed over. Do you think you can bully the people of the arrogant sect? Whoosh, Foam Wuxia did not move, but his body had already descended. His 5 fingers pierced through the void, and the wind blew. His divine robe fluttered, and a sharp sword was formed between heaven and earth. It tore through the mountains and rivers, and directly attacked Diwu Tianhe. Damn bastard, how dare you bully my imperial sister? I'll tear you into 8 pieces. See Wuxia's golden blood chi burst out, and even the quasi-emperors in Emperor Abyss City were shocked by it. The people of the arrogant sect all came, and even Di Longtian came. A golden dragon circled the sky and instantly rushed to the center of the battlefield. It was definitely a real divine dragon. Its sharp claws tore through the mountains and rivers, and even the heavenly Tao rumbled. Other than Jian Qingxue and Gu Qingyu, who were in the endless space, everyone came. Sikong Qingjun and the other 5 joined forces and surrounded them from all directions. Heaven and earth were imprisoned. Nye Tian and Diwu Tianhe gasped. They were experts who had just emerged, and they did not know about Emperor Yi, nor did they know about the arrogant sect. Anyone would be shocked by the sudden appearance of so many experts. If they ganged up on one person, even a fake emperor would be half dead. Yi Qinghan moved the stars and broke through the void. He directly swept away the god-slaying eagle and Emperor Yi. Under the pressure of the sun and moon, the earth collapsed. Not to mention a person, even an iron mountain would be crushed by the sun and moon. Yi Qinghan transferred a large amount of wood origin to Emperor Yi to help him heal his injured body. He squinted at Nye Tian and Diwu Tianhe and laughed in anger. Master, that man helped me save junior brother Jiuchong. He's not with Diwu Tianhe. Emperor Yi wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said in a muffled voice. Thank you for your help, fellow cultivator. Once the insane sect has taken care of this, we will repay your kindness. Yi Qinghan's voice was hoarse and cold. It contained a terrifying murderous intent. He wanted to kill Diwu Tianhe. Nye Tian coughed and said, You're too kind. It's not a big deal. You can solve your problems. I won't get involved. He had never seen so many terrifying geniuses gathered together, so he didn't want to get involved in this matter. Therefore, he decided to leave. Who are you? Get out of my way. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude. Diwu Tianhe warned in a muffled voice. You reckless thing. You even dare to touch this divine bird's little master. Don't you know that no one in this world can bully her? Even I, the divine bird, have to lower my head when I see her. How dare you beat her up so miserably with your cultivation? Today, I'm going to roast you and throw you into the 100,000 mountains to feed the wild dogs. The parrot raised its head. With the help of the crazed sect in Zitian, they were not afraid of the enemy's awakened imperial weapons. In terms of imperial weapons, who had more than Yi Qinghan? Outside the Emperor Abyss City, the experts of the Tao realm's sacred grounds broke out in cold sweat. Diwu Tianhe was the grandson of the Diwu Heavenly Emperor, and his bloodline was unreachable. The Diwu clan was not inferior to the Dao realm sacred grounds. If they were to fight, they would be surrounded by the crazed sect. Whoosh! In an instant, at least a dozen boundary emperors arrived and suppressed the restless blood qi of the experts. Qing Han, Prince Diwu, calm down. We're all humans. Don't hurt our friendship because of a misunderstanding. A low-level boundary emperor from the Wanvi Yuntian said in a deep voice. That's right. We're waiting for the king-conferring battle. Now is not the time to fight. In an instant, at least 7 or 8 boundary emperors spoke up for Diwu Tianhe. They didn't want him to be surrounded by the crazed sect. Yi Qinghan's lips curled into a mocking smile. He glanced at the boundary emperors and asked indifferently, "My son is only 400 miles away from the Emperor Abyss City. Did you feel it when he was fighting with this damn thing?" "This. I felt it a little." Everyone smiled bitterly. Yi Qinghan was obviously blaming them for not making a move. They had almost caused the death of 2 elites from the crazed sect. "My son is only at the 2nd stage of the Immortal Gate. His physical body is even weaker than a great martial honorable. This damn thing is at the 9th stage of the Immortal Gate and has awakened an emperor weapon. Why didn't you stop him?" Yi Qinghan questioned coldly. "You're courting death. Who are you scolding?" Diwu Tianhe was furious. He didn't care about the crazed sect at all. In terms of combat strength, he could suppress everyone. With so many boundary emperors present, would the crazed sect dare to gang up on him? The boundary emperors and false emperors broke out in cold sweat. They didn't know what to do. "You shut up first. Later, I'll let you have a taste of what it's like to court death." Yi Qinghan pointed his blade at Diwu Tianhe and scolded domineeringly. He then turned to look at the boundary emperors and said coldly, "Let me ask you. You know that your combat strength is not equal. Why didn't you make a move? Is it because he's the grandson of the Diwu Heavenly Emperor and has a noble bloodline that you don't want to offend?" Everyone was speechless and speechless. "Since you didn't stop him and didn't want to speak, then you should shut up now and get lost. Don't think that you can order me around just because you're a boundary emperor. I won't fall for it. Do you think that you can humiliate my crazed sect as you wish?" Yi Qinghan was furious. These boundary emperors were too shameless. When Emperor Yi was in danger, they pretended not to see it. Now that Diwu Tianhe was in danger, they immediately stood out. Wasn't it because the crazed sect didn't have a boundary emperor? If Emperor Shang was still around, would they dare to do this? The boundary emperors were furious. Yi Qinghan was simply slapping their faces. Even if he didn't give them face, he didn't have to shout in anger. "Yi Qinghan, how dare you? Don't think that you can be disrespectful to us just because you have the Emperor's sword. The Emperor's sword is the guardian sword of the ancient killing god." A boundary emperor scolded angrily. "Are you saying that the guardian sword has never protected you? Is that so?" Yi Qinghan's aura erupted. He pointed the Emperor's sword at the boundary emperors and questioned coldly. The boundary emperors were speechless again. They knelt on the ground and respectfully welcomed the Emperor's sword. "Remember your attitude towards the crazed sect today. Don't think that you can trample on our dignity and control the will of the crazed sect just because the crazed sect doesn't have a boundary emperor. No one can stop us from doing what we want to do. Not to mention you, even if the sacred masters of the 10 great Dao realms sacred grounds came here personally, I wouldn't give them face." Yi Qinghan scolded coldly. The boundary emperor's veins bulged. Yi Qinghan was right. They didn't stop Diwu Tianhe because the crazed sect didn't have a boundary emperor. Who would be willing to offend the Diwu family and the grandson of the Diwu great emperor for a group of juniors? At this time, Yi Qinghan had something on them. If they spoke up for Diwu Tianhe, any man with a bit of courage would not be able to resist. Nie Tian was speechless and thought to himself, oh my god, where did this guy come from? He actually dared to insult the boundary emperors. Although these boundary emperors aren't high-level, ordinary people wouldn't dare to blaspheme them. Isn't he afraid of revenge? Diwu Tianhe's hair stood on end. He also felt that he had offended the wrong person. Yi Qinghan was a madman. He even dared to insult the boundary emperors. Moreover, there were so many people from powerful sects and clans, including the great elders of the sacred grounds. Was there anyone that he didn't dare to insult? I, Diwu Tianhe, have no intention of going against the crazed sect. I just want to be on good terms with the crazed sect and marry the Emperor Yi. Diwu Tianhe finally admitted defeat. Unfortunately, he had done so in the wrong place. He had touched Yi Qinghan's reverse scale. Ha ha ha, what a big tone. Marry the Emperor's son. Are you qualified? If you can't use soft means, then you're going to use your cultivation base to rob him. You call this having no intention of going against the crazed sect. I've seen people who are courting death, but I've never seen anyone who's courting death like this. If you put down your imperial weapon now, I'll allow you to challenge all the disciples of the crazed sect except for me. If you don't, I'll let you have a taste of the power of the sword of the human sovereign and the divine martial imperial codex. Yi Qinghan laughed wildly. His eyes shone with a terrifying light and murderous intent. Gulp, Diwu Tianhe swallowed a mouthful of saliva and glanced at the more than 20 experts of the crazed sect. Among them, there were a few whose individual combat strength was not inferior to his, such as Zi Tian, Shirgu, Feng Wuxia, Sikong Qingjun, and the others. If he was beaten up by this group of people, he would be dead even if he had 10 lives. However, Yi Qinghan had the sword of the human sovereign and the divine martial imperial codex. The sword of the human sovereign was enough to deal with the heavenly scripture of the Tao Si. With the divine martial imperial codex, Diwu Tianhe would be crushed into pieces in an instant. There would be no chance for him to escape. I'll give you 3 breaths of time to think. Choose to be killed by me or be beaten up by the disciples of the crazed sect. If you can escape, you'll be lucky. If you can't, the crazed sect will wait for the revenge of the Diwu family. Yi Qinghan had made up his mind to kill Diwu Tianhe. He had to kill him and spread the prestige of the crazed sect. In the future, if anyone dared to bully the crazed sect, they would end up like Diwu Tianhe. Yi Qinghan, don't you go too far. I, Diwu Tianhe, am not to be trifled with. Diwu Tianhe was furious. 3,000 years ago, he was invincible among his peers. However, it was not a good time for him to attain his Tao, so he chose to seal himself. How could he tolerate being bullied by a junior the moment he came out? Looks like you've chosen to fight me. Yi Qinghan said coldly. Little bastard, you're courting death by provoking the crazed sect. I'll give you a chance to apologize. Crawl from here to the crazed sect and kowtow to the young master. If the young master is in a good mood, he might spare your life. Otherwise. Humph. The parrot sneered coldly. It didn't say anything that wasn't unpleasant to hear. It clearly wanted to earn some merit so that Yi Qinghan would treat it better. Diwu Tianhe's eyes flashed fiercely. He couldn't bear the humiliation. Your insulting me is the same as insulting my grandfather, the 5th great sovereign. Those who blaspheme the prestige of the great sovereign shall die. Diwu Tianhe resisted the 5th great sovereign, hoping to intimidate Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan grinned. He respected the dead great emperor, but that didn't mean that others could bully his people just because they were great emperors. The great emperor from the dead spirit's forbidden land was still alive, but Yi Qinghan dared to kill him, let alone a dead great emperor in the 5th heaven ravine. 3 breaths' time has passed. Irrelevant people, leave now. I know you, but Lord Guardian Sword and the Divine Martial Imperial Codex don't. Yi Qinghan told Diwu Tianhe with his actions that he would definitely die today. The great sovereign was shocked and his face turned ugly. Yi Qinghan was like a stone in a latrine, smelly and stubborn. He didn't give anyone face at all. Wait. Diwu Tianhe was shocked. He didn't dare to fight against two awakened extreme Dao monarch weapons. He gritted his teeth and said, I can give up on the heavenly scripture of the Dao Si and fight against the rest of the crazed sect. But then again, it's not fair for me to fight against 20 of you. 10 moves is the limit. If I can withstand 10 moves, let me go. If I can't, I'll take it that I'm short-lived. Hearing this, everyone clenched their fists and sneered. With so many people working together, even a divine martial expert would be crushed in 10 moves, let alone Diwu Tianhe. Many people wanted to take revenge for Emperor Yi. Even Tai Hua was glaring at Diwu Tianhe. He had been sitting on Li Jiucheng's shoulder all this time. Now that Li Jiucheng almost fell to his death, he really wanted to kill Diwu Tianhe. He clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. Chapter 297. Crack, a group of people from the arrogant sect moved their bodies and their bones cracked. At least 20 of them surrounded Diwu Wuga. Shi Gu weighed the brick in his hand and sneered. He stared at Diwu Tianhe's face and said, Boy, you look like a dog, but you're so shameless. I'll smash your face into meat paste later. Diwu Wuga, the grandson of the Diwu Emperor. You think you're the only one with a noble bloodline? Si Wuxia clenched his fists and unleashed his blood essence, causing Diwu Wuga's expression to change. Golden bloodline. Diwu Wuga was shocked. He was already shocked by the appearance of Emperor Yi in the arrogant sect. Now, there was another golden bloodline. He could not help but sweat as he thought to himself, no wonder these boundary emperors do not dare to offend Yi Qinghan, roar. Di Longtian stood on a golden dragon and held the clouds in his hand. His emperor robe fluttered as he looked down on the world. A golden ribbon was tied around his forehead and fluttered in the wind. Although he looked only 10 years old, he had an irresistible aura. At this moment, not only Diwu Wuga's pupils constricted, but even the boundary emperor's legs sank. They decided not to interfere and retreated. What kind of system is this? Where did this little guy come from? Many boundary emperors were shocked. They did not know that Di Shang had a son who was sealed for 1,000 years and was only 7 years old. Only Emperor Yi, who had the help of the divine Guqin, knew about the divine dragon Dao body. Otherwise, even boundary emperors would not know about the divine dragon Dao body. Everyone gathered and imprisoned this place, turning it into the forbidden heaven prison. Diwu Wuga was shocked and regretful. If he fought with Yi Qinghan, he would most likely die. However, if he fought with these people, he would definitely die. Kill him. I want all the secluded families in the endless universe to see the consequences of bullying the arrogant sect. Yi Qinghan said indifferently. Boom. With that order, no one held back. A group of people surrounded Diwu Wuga. Sikong Qingjun and Shi Gu were the most powerful. Diwu Wuga was stunned and did not know what to do. Attacks came from all directions and he could not dodge at all. Despite his powerful defense, he could not stop coughing out blood. Boom! The brick hit Tianhe Diwu in the chest. Tianhe Diwu's blood boiled and his divine martial armor was shattered. Sikong Qingjuan's war rod tore through space and time, aiming for Tianhe Diwu's head. He clearly wanted to kill him. Diwu Tianhe's pupils constricted as he raised his hand to attack the thunder god's golden jade rod. Crack! How could a human's bones possibly shake the thunder deity's golden jade staff? The bones in his hand broke, and the crisp sound shattered the Dao hearts of the heroes. Die! Si Wuxia relied entirely on his physical body. His flesh and blood erupted, and his fist smashed through space, heading straight for the fifth sky ravine. The fifth sky ravine's vital essence stagnated, and his battle prowess dropped by 50%. Yin and Yang appeared, and the sun and moon appeared. Nangong Qingyue and Muyo Tianqian combined into one and used their strongest power. They wanted to kill this fifth sky ravine within 10 moves and show the insane sect's might. Hun Di Longtian transformed into a true divine dragon and swooped down from the desolate wilderness. His mighty divine might alarmed the azure dragon quasi-emperor who was in seclusion. The experts with slightly weaker bloodlines immediately knelt down, not daring to blaspheme in the slightest. His sharp claws tore through space and grabbed Tianhediwu's leg. He bared his fangs and wanted to devour Tianhediwu. Ah! It wasn't that Tianhediwu wasn't strong, but he couldn't be. With so many terrifying existences, one attack from each was enough to make him suffer. So what if his cultivation level was high? If he didn't use the Tao Si heavenly scripture, he would be courting death. Whoosh! Lin Wutian's sword pierced through the Milky Way and became one with the sword. He was only a half-step immortal, but he was even more terrifying than some fifth-stage immortal. Yi Qing Han. Don't go too far. If you force me again, I'll take you down with me. Tianhediwu forcefully used the Tao Si heavenly scripture and sent everyone flying, but he didn't dare to attack. He just wanted to intimidate the insane sect. Yi Qing Han smirked and didn't bother to hide his killing intent. He waved his hand and the others retreated. Then, he took out the divine martial imperial codex and the human sovereign sword. Tianhediwu couldn't care less about his face anymore. He immediately fled into the distance. Boom! The Tao Si heavenly scripture tore through space and was about to leave the sovereign domain. Die! Yi Qing Han wouldn't allow him to escape. He threw out the human sovereign sword and slashed at the Tao Si heavenly scripture. The divine martial imperial codex was activated, and the emperor's aura suppressed the entire sovereign domain. Even the boundary emperors were enraged. No wonder Yi Qing Han was so domineering. He didn't care about the boundary emperors and the Tao realm's sacred grounds. It turned out that the two monarch weapons could be activated at any time. The dead spirits of the Forbidden Grounds were also afraid that Yi Qing Han's monarch weapons could be activated at any time. Otherwise, their souls would be damaged and it would take a long time to recover. Tianhediwu was shocked. He didn't even dare to look back. He rushed out of the sovereign domain at an incredible speed. He was almost on par with Qitian Monkey King. Dragon subduing seal. Suppress him. Yi Qing Han was a nouveau riche. The number of Boundary Emperor weapons and Apex Emperor weapons in his hands would make any other Boundary Emperor blush with shame. The dragon subduing seal continued to expand, almost like a canopy in the sky. It covered the space-time, and the entire sovereign region fell into darkness. The Tsang Dragon Boundary Emperor was shocked. He tore through space and arrived. When he saw Yi Qing Han and Tianhediwu's grandson fighting, he had no intention of interfering. Instead, he stared at Di Longtian. It's him. He was the one who released the aura of the divine dragon. He has the divine dragon Tao body. The divine dragon has appeared again in the human body. The dragon race will be glorious again. The Tsang Dragon Boundary Emperor was shocked. His hands trembled as he tried to hug Di Longtian. Boom boom boom, the stable space of the sovereign domain crumbled. Yi Qing Han took out the palatial Buddha pagoda and shattered Tianhediwu's soul. This is impossible. How can you have so many Apex Monarch weapons and pseudo-Apex Monarch weapons? Tianhediwu roared. Countless experts of the human race were attracted. Even the saint ancestors and family heads of the 10 sacred grounds were attracted. Yi Qing Han, what are you doing? Zhang Yunxiao was furious. Using so many Apex Monarch weapons to fight the grandson of Tianhediwu, he was clearly trying to kill him. Stop! At this time, even Qin Heng and Zhou Xian rushed out. They did not want the human race to kill each other. However, Yi Qing Han was protected by so many Apex Monarch weapons. They could only shout at him from the side. They did not dare to interfere and suppressed Yi Qinghan. Tianhe Diwu's heavenly scripture of the Tao Si was suppressed by the human sovereign sword. The god martial cannon and dragon subduing seal suppressed Tianhe Diwu's main body. The palatial Buddha pagoda protected Tianhe Diwu's golden body. Yi Qinghan attacked Tianhe Diwu without restraint. Boom! 3 pages flipping heaven and earth, die 2. PFFF. Tianhe Diwu's strength was not enough to use the third move. However, his true yuan was sucked dry. Even half of his vitality was sucked away. He threw out the heavenly scripture of the Tao Si and coughed out blood. Hua! Heaven and earth had never been so close to humans. The sky collapsed, the earth cracked, and the myriad of laws wailed. The apex monarch's might was enough to startle the forbidden grounds and rush into the depths of the wilderness. The palatial Buddha pagoda wailed and trembled. It could be shattered by the heavenly scripture of the Tao Si at any time. The dragon subduing seal was instantly taken away by Yi Qinghan. Otherwise, not only would the dragon subduing seal be destroyed, but even his main body and soul would be severely injured. The human sovereign sword and divine martial cannon awakened on their own and suppressed the heavenly scripture of the Tao Si. The 3 apex monarch weapons showed the great Tao runes clearly to everyone. The boundary emperor coughed out blood and the experts in Emperor Abyss City were knocked unconscious. Tianhe Diwu fled frantically. He rushed to the back of the Tao realm sacred ground Saint Lord. He was shocked when he saw the human sovereign sword and divine martial cannon suppressing the heavenly scripture of the Tao Si. His divine sense was almost shattered. He immediately shouted, "Seniors, please stop this madman." Yi Qinghan stopped looking at the human sovereign sword and divine martial cannon. No matter how strong the heavenly scripture of the Tao Si was, it could not suppress the human sovereign sword and divine martial cannon. Boom! Yi Qinghan held the dragon subduing seal in his hand and the 10,000 Buddha's pagoda protecting his golden body. He stepped towards Zhang Yunxiao and pointed at Tianhe Diwu. He said coldly, "I don't care whose grandson you are. Get out here and die." "Qinghan, what are you doing? Killing each other at a time like this? How disappointing." Zhang Yunxiao frowned. He had no idea what was going on. "Master, if you acknowledge me as your disciple, then get out of the way. I will kill this person today." Yi Qinghan said coldly. Zhang Yunxiao's mouth twitched. Yi Qinghan had acknowledged the 10 Tao realm's sacred grounds as his master. If he did not mention it, these people would have forgotten about it. "Why? Give me a reason." Zhang Yunxiao asked coldly. He insulted Emperor Yi and almost killed Emperor Yi and Li Jiudao by relying on his cultivation level and monarch weapon. Is this reason enough? Yi Qinghan held the dragon subduing seal and asked aggressively. "I'm not. I'm only interested in Emperor Yi. She has the zither immortal crimson demon physique. I have the bloodline of the Diwu Great Emperor. With the combination of the two, the child is destined to attain Tao. Emperor Yi is ignorant and doesn't think for the human race. Can't I kill him directly?" Tianhe Diwu did not know what was good for him. "You still don't know what's good for you. Who do you think you are? How dare you plot against anyone in the arrogant sect? Even if the heavenly king is here, I will kill you today." Yi Qinghan looked coldly at Zhang Yunxiao and asked indifferently. "Master, if you don't step aside today, I'll give you some face and consider it as repaying your kindness." Zhang Yunxiao's breath stagnated. He really wanted to slap Tianhe Diwu back to his hometown. Looking at Yi Qinghan's cold eyes, he knew that if he protected Tianhe Diwu today, he would definitely offend Yi Qinghan. However, he could not let Yi Qinghan kill Tianhe Diwu. If the old monster of Tianhe Diwu's royal family was provoked, Yi Qinghan and the people of the arrogant sect would be in trouble, let alone himself. "Qinghan, from the big picture, Tianhe Diwu is in the wrong. I'm willing to compensate him. What do you think?" Zhang Yunxiao smiled bitterly and said helplessly. I don't need any compensation. This heavenly scripture of the sea is mine. Yi Qinghan smiled and turned to look at the human sovereign's sword and the heavenly scripture of the sea that was being suppressed by the Emperor God Emperor. Their auras were getting weaker and weaker. He made up his mind. No compensation was better than an emperor weapon. How dare you? Tianhe Diwu trembled. If he lost the emperor weapon, the Diwu family would kill him. Chapter 298. Don't you dare. Diwu Tianhe's hair stood on end. Yi Qinghan was too bold. Many boundary emperors were speechless. Yi Qinghan was taking advantage of every opportunity. A life in exchange for an apex monarch weapon. Anyone would be willing to do it. Diwu Tianhe had almost lost his life because of his arrogance. Now, even his monarch weapon was at risk. It's not up to you whether I dare or not. If you have the guts, come out and take back the heavenly scripture of the Tao Si. Not only will I take the heavenly scripture of the Tao Si, I will also take your life. Yi Qinghan's killing intent surged. Diwu Tianhe was infuriated. He wanted to come out and fight with Yi Qinghan. However, even without the apex monarch weapon, Yi Qinghan still had two pseudo-apex monarch weapons. One was for offense and the other was for defense. With the palatial Buddha pagoda protecting Yi Qinghan, no matter how strong he was, he wouldn't be able to hurt Yi Qinghan. Zhang Yunxiao's mouth twitched. Looking at Yi Qinghan's determined eyes, he knew that Yi Qinghan wouldn't give in anymore. He shrugged and indicated that he wouldn't interfere. After all, he was the Zhan clan's Dao realm patriarch and not Diwu Tianhe's nanny. Protecting Diwu Tianhe was standing on the side of humanity. It wasn't his responsibility to protect the heavenly scripture of the Tao Si. Diwu Tianhe wanted to cry but no tears came out. He looked at the other boundary emperors of the other Dao realm sacred grounds. Most of these boundary emperors were from the same era as him. However, he chose to seal himself back then. These people were already past their prime and had become the pillars of humanity. The experts of the 10 Dao realm sacred grounds turned their heads and pretended not to see anything. Wouldn't it be asking for trouble if they went to provoke Yi Qinghan at this time? Yi Qinghan's lips curled up. He turned and left. It didn't matter whether he killed Diwu Tianhe or not. The heavenly scripture of the Tao Si was what he wanted. The heavenly scripture of the Tao Si's emperor aura dispersed. It slowly descended to the ground like an ordinary secret art. The human sovereign's sword and divine martial imperial codex were suppressing it. As long as the heavenly scripture of the Tao Si dared to resist, the two divine weapons would definitely seal it. Yi waved his hand, Yi Qinghan took the heavenly scripture of the Tao Si and left. Diwu's heart's Yi Qinghu. Yi Qinghan, you'll regret what you've done today. Diwu Tianhe's eyes turned red. He was so angry that he almost cried. The corners of the experts' mouths twitched as they looked at Diwu Tianhe in disdain. Only this kind of idiot, who had been self-proclaimed for thousands of years and did not use his brain before doing anything, dared to challenge the Kuang sect. Emperor Yi was injured, and Li Jiao was severely injured. In exchange, he obtained an imperial armament that combined attacks and secret techniques. It was worth it no matter how they looked at it. Yi Qinghan and the others had snatched away the imperial weapon in front of everyone. Some people were gloating, but more people were envious of the identity of a disciple of the wild sect. With Yi Qinghan's protection, there was no need to be afraid of being bullied by others because of their cultivation level. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. More than 10 figures rushed toward the eccentric sect. Jin Yan, the daughter of the 45th Battle Zone's quasi-emperor, was extremely talented. However, she was just a rogue cultivator. She didn't have enough resources, and she didn't want to become a plaything of the emperor's son. Thus, she relied on herself to cultivate to this stage. Brother Yi, I'm Jin Yan, a rogue cultivator. I want to join the eccentric sect. Jin Yen said frankly. She was a 6th-tier immortal realm cultivator. Her combat strength was slightly weaker than Sikong Qingjun. However, with the support of the eccentric sect's resources, Jin Yan's future was unpredictable. Yi Qinghan hesitated for a moment. To join the eccentric sect, one had to first consider one's character, then one's will, and finally one's talent. Jin Yan's talent was undoubtedly better than his own. It was just that she didn't have enough resources. You need to be tested. I won't comment on your talent. If you can pass Emperor Ye's illusion, you can join the eccentric sect. Yi Qinghan stared at Jin Yen. He wanted to strengthen the eccentric sect, so he accepted Jin Yen. After all, there weren't many female cultivators, and powerful female cultivators were even rarer. The eccentric sect was full of men, so they needed some women to run the house. Brother Yi, I'm Lu Quebec. I also want to join the eccentric sect. Lu Ke was the first cultivator of the younger generation to emerge. He had been fighting all the way until now, which was enough to prove his strength. I'm Zhan Chuanxiu, from the ancient battlefield. I'm a rogue cultivator, and I also want to join the eccentric sect. A dignified voice resounded through the mountains and rivers. A handsome young man appeared. There was a stalk of thyme grass in the depths of his sea of consciousness. His eyes were deep and soul-stirring. It was as if one could see the ancient times and the future from his eyes. Zhan Chuanxiu. Yi Qinghan frowned and glanced at Lu Quebec. There weren't many geniuses like him, but they weren't few either. The key was the will. As for Zhan Chuanxiu, he was a little scary. His black and white polychoria god eyes were a gift that contained supreme will. One glance was enough to kill a cultivator of the same level. Without the support of a sect, this kind of ultimate genius would also die prematurely. Zhan Chuanxiu wanted to rely on the eccentric sect to develop. He didn't ask for any resources from Yi Qinghan, but at least he could rely on the dignity of the eccentric sect to rise fairly. He just had to endure a little injustice. I'm Ye Tian, and I'm also interested in joining the eccentric sect. Brother Yi, do you think I'm qualified? Nye Tian carried the giant axe, and his whole body was full of vicissitudes, as if he had experienced the ancient times. Sikong Qingjun and the others' eyes lit up. They immediately clasped their fists and said, Are you Nye Tian, the Panga Divine King, of the ancient battlefield? You are. I just saw you use the Thunder God's golden jade rod. Are you Sikong Qingjun of the ancient battlefield? Nye Tian was surprised. It seemed that the two of them had been friends for a long time in the ancient battlefield. Yi Qinghan and Sikong Qingjun looked at each other and knew that they could make friends with Nye Tian. There was no need for a test. Thank you for your help before. The eccentric sect welcomes you to join us. Yi Qinghan's emotions were calm, but he was still very happy. If Jin Yen, Lu Ke, and Zhan Chuanxiu could pass Emperor Ye's illusion test and confirm that they were sincere in joining the eccentric sect and would not betray it, then the strength of the eccentric sect would definitely increase dramatically. There were more than a dozen young experts with them. They were all rogue cultivators with extraordinary combat strength. They hoped to have someone to rely on in this chaotic world. In this era, individual combat strength was a joke. Without a strong sect, one could be killed at any time. Just like the divine dragon Dao body at the end of the barbaric era. Whether it was talent, will, or body, a rogue cultivator, they were all unparalleled in both ancient and modern times. But in the end, they still died prematurely. Before Yi Qinghan could speak, more than a dozen figures rushed over from the direction of Emperor Abyss City. Some of them had very familiar auras. Qianlong Breaking Dawn of the Qianlong clan greets Lord Emperor Yi. Qianlong Breaking Dawn rushed over with 10 of the clan's experts. They were dressed in blood-red robes. It was unknown how many hardships they had gone through to come to the imperial domain from Qianlong planet. Their combat strength had improved a lot, and their temperament had changed. The 10 of them knelt on one knee. Although they were all Emperor-level experts, they did not feel embarrassed at all. They faced Emperor Yi respectfully. Emperor Yi raised his palm and quickly helped them up. He said gently, "There's no need to do this next time. It's my great honor to have you follow me. Just call me Yi. My lord, we came late to save you. Please forgive us." Qianlong breaking dawn was still respectful. At this moment, the wounds on his body had not healed and were dripping with blood. Yi Qinghan frowned. Qianlong breaking dawn and the others had joined forces to use the tyrant martial attack technique and Qianlong combined attack technique. With 10 of them at the second stage of the Immortal Gate and 1 at the 5th stage of the Immortal Gate, it would be difficult for Emperor Yi to win. Why were they in such a miserable state now? Yi Qinghan did not hesitate to return to the Immortal Gate. My Immortal Gate will not be selfish. As long as you pass the test, you will be my brothers and sisters. You will be the first generation of elders and protectors of the Immortal Gate. Nearly 50 people entered the Immortal Gate. Emperor Yi was in charge of the test. Yi Qinghan brought the unconscious Li Jiuchong to the alchemy room and injected the best 7th grade sacred pill into his body. Li Jiuchong's injuries were instantly healed. His realm and physical body were rapidly growing stronger. Cough cough. Li Jiuchong coughed out a mouthful of blood. When he saw Yi Qinghan, he immediately shouted, "Master, disciple is useless. Big senior sister is in danger, I already know. My son is fine. You can rest at ease and recuperate. I will bestow upon you a secret technique later." Yi Qinghan nodded solemnly. Since Yi Futian was unwilling to leave Renhuang Yi until his death, he was worth nurturing. Li Jiuchong looked much older. This battle was a blow to him. When the real invincible king appeared, his combat strength and realm were not enough. Time passed slowly. With the sacred pill, Li Jiuchong quickly recovered his combat strength. He wanted to break through to the next realm, but he was suppressed by Yi Qinghan. Don't break through for now. Your combat strength in the same realm can continue to improve. Your will is enough to make you a supreme almighty. For now, I will teach you the secret technique of the dragon subduing seal. If you can complete the first level within a month, I will bestow the dragon subduing seal to you. Yi Qinghan flipped his palm and the dragon subduing seal appeared. Li Jiuchong was stunned. He did not expect Yi Qinghan to give him such a pseudo-extreme Dao Emperor weapon. You know the meaning of protection the best. Jiuchong, you started cultivating late, but I don't think it will affect your future. If you want to protect, you must be strong. The secret technique of the dragon subduing seal is difficult and tedious. It tortures the soul. To be honest, I have not even reached the first level. Now, you will complete it for me. Yi Qinghan placed the secret technique in front of Li Jiuchong and said, "Master, I will not let you down." Li Jiuchong was excited. He clenched his fists and thought, if I can successfully cultivate the secret technique of the dragon subduing seal, I will be able to fight against the 5th sky ravine with the dragon subduing seal. Here are the pills. They are specially made for you to recover your soul. For this month, you don't have to do anything. Focus on cultivating the secret technique of the dragon subduing seal. Yi Qinghan handed the dragon subduing seal to Li Jiuchong and said, "Give the secret technique to the fated person. I, Yi Qinghan, will not waste a pseudo-extreme Dao Emperor weapon. If you are not qualified to use it, I will take it back." Li Jiuchong knelt down and said, "I will not disappoint you, master. I am willing to protect the crazy sect with my life. I will protect every disciple of the crazy sect." Yi Qinghan nodded slightly. He patted Li Jiuchong's shoulder and walked out of the alchemy room. He walked towards the martial arts practice field. Emperor Yi played the sound of nature on the martial arts practice field. Divine light shrouded everyone as if they were in a fairyland. Some of them had clear eyes and were ready to die. Some of them had blurred eyes and were filled with greed. Chapter 299. On the martial arts field, 40 to 50 young experts looked solemn. They had all fallen into an illusion. Emperor Ye's music was the purest, making it impossible to tell if it was real or fake. Yi Qinghan stepped into the martial arts field and touched Emperor Ye's forehead with his fingertip. He looked into his mind and saw the illusion that everyone was in. The insane sect was in danger. Most of the people were willing to die with the insane sect. However, there were also a few who were afraid of death and chose to escape, taking away a large number of the insane sect's treasures along the way. Emperor Yi was calm and unperturbed. His 10 fingers plucked the strings of the guqin. The music slowly dissipated and the heroes came back to their senses. Some of them turned purple and left guiltily. Nye Tian was also shocked by Emperor Ye's music. Such heavenly music could be played by someone else. How pure was Emperor Ye's soul. Welcome to the insane sect. May the insane sect's glory and honor be with you. Yi Qinghan was very satisfied with the performance of these people. This time, more than 30 people had been recruited, and the insane sect had reached 60 people. The number of people might not be as many as a first-grade sect, but the insane sect focused on quality over quantity. Anyone in the insane sect could be conferred the title of king. The key was that they were loyal to the insane sect and treated it as their home. Zhan Chuanxiu clasped his fists and said, "Thank you, Daoist Yi, for providing a safe place for us. I don't dare to say anything else, but I, Zhan Chuanxiu, dare to say that if the insane sect falls, I, Zhan Chuanxiu, will be the first to die." Yi Qinghan smiled. This was the kind of elite he wanted. Those below the 5th level of the celestial sect are the first-generation disciples. The eldest senior sister is still Emperor Yi, and the eldest senior brother is still at the 9th level of the celestial sect. Those above the 5th level of the celestial sect are the elders and protectors of the sect. Yi Qinghan stared at the crowd and said in a low voice, "I treat you kindly because we are all from the human race. I don't want to see you die for resources. However, there is no free lunch in this world, and the same goes for the crazy sect. We will not provide you with 7th-grade sacred herbs for free. Even 6th-grade supreme elixirs are not free. You have to exchange them with contribution points. As long as you are willing to pay, I, Yi Qinghan, will treat you as my family. Whoever dares to bully you because of their realm and weapons will be my mortal enemy. The monarch weapon is willing to revive you." Everyone was excited. With an emperor weapon protecting them, who would dare to bully them just because of their cultivation level? The reason why they joined the Kuang sect was that they were afraid that the emperor's sons from the secluded wealthy sects and sacred lands, as well as the Dao realm cultivators from the superpowers, would kill them just because they were in a higher realm. The crazy sect could exchange contribution points for 6th grade and even 7th grade sacred herbs. This was not something an ordinary force could provide. Yi Qinghan waved his hand, and more than 47th grade sacred herbs appeared. They were filled with great Dao patterns, and their fragrance filled the entire crazy sect. The medicinal power stimulated the qi and blood of the heroes. A 7th grade sacred herb for each of you. This is a personal gift from me. Yi Qinghan used his soul to control objects and pushed the sacred herbs in front of everyone. It was definitely a generous gift. Everyone bowed and clasped their fists. "Thank you, sect leader. Except for the first-generation disciples, the rest are brothers and sisters. You don't have to be so polite. As for the first-generation disciples, I have received your bow, so naturally, I will train you." Yi Qinghan stared at the elites and said in a low voice. The next day, the crazy sect issued an expansion order through the ancient massacre god to establish the outer sect of the crazy sect, which caused a huge uproar. Even the outer sect had strict requirements. First, one had to pass Emperor Ye's illusion test. If one could not pass the test, no matter how talented one was, they would not be allowed in. The second requirement was one's will, and the third was one's talent. There was no requirement for one's realm. Even a mortal could participate in the test. Such requirements were an opportunity for small forces or ordinary families. They could always recruit some weirdos, just like Lin Wutian and Huang Xiaohu. Compared to the rich and powerful sects, they could not be recruited, but they became members of the crazy sect. Who could say that they could not become pseudo-emperors or even quasi-emperors in the future? This was especially so for Taiwan. Yi Qinghan didn't know how to nurture him. This kind of great emperor Dao fruit didn't have the memories of his previous life. Once he recovered his memories, he would be a great emperor with the memories of 2 lives. The insane sect had opened the entrances of all the major star areas. Many people didn't know what rank the insane sect was and why they could open the entrances of all the major star areas. However, the fact that the insane sect was able to open the entrances of all the major star areas was enough to attract the attention of many elite geniuses. The crazy sect expanded the outer sect and invited heroes from all over the world. Once the true supreme elites joined, they would be the protectors of the inner sect and the sect master of the outer sect. This made many rogue cultivators excited. Yi Qinghan stared at the map of the sovereign domain and secretly thought. He decided to use the inner sect as the base to expand in all directions, surrounding the inner sect and establishing 100 outer sect branches. 100 outer sect branches, each branch would recruit 1,000 people. 100 outer sect branches would be 100,000 people. It would require a lot of resources. Yi Qinghan invited Xia Qiyu. After all, he was the crown prince of the Heavenly Dragon Sacred Dynasty. He could see the whole situation clearly. Xia Qiyu knew about Yi Qinghan's idea. He pondered for a moment and said, "Brother Yi, you want to catch all the geniuses of the sovereign domain in one fell swoop. You have to consider the location of the outer sect branches. Brother Xia, you are familiar with the sovereign domain. I hope you can give me some advice. I want to ensure the safety of the inner sect. These outer sect branches are like a net. They not only absorb the geniuses, but they are also responsible for intelligence. If there are any invaders, the inner sect can at least know in advance." Yi Qinghan said. Xia Qiyu nodded and said, "The ancient massacre god is behind you, which is in the east. You don't have to worry about that. The Sky Dragon Sacred Dynasty is in the southeast, so you don't have to worry about it. However, the intersection between the ancient massacre god and the Sky Dragon Sacred Dynasty is in the Half-Moon City. You have to set up an outer sect fulcrum in the south, which is the place that leads to the other star regions. You have to set up an inner sect fulcrum in the shape of a half-moon, with a total of 17 cities." Xia Qiyu kept marking on the map. There were a few places that were especially thick. These places must be defended by trustworthy people. The west is the direction to the Forbidden Area. The northwest is the direction to the 10,000 races territory. These 2 directions. Xia Qiyu directly drew 2 fan-shaped arcs. They were more than 500 li away from each other. They could help each other. Xia Qiyu was indeed the crown prince of the Heavenly Dragon Sacred Dynasty. She marked more than 120 marks on the map. They surrounded the inner sect tightly. Every outer sect was guarding each other. They were not far away from the major cities and the outer sect forces of the Dao Realm Holy Lands. Once the outer sect was attacked, the outer sect forces of the Dao Realm Holy Lands would not dare to stand by and do nothing. There were a total of 125 branches. Each outer sect had to have at least 1,000 people. There were 10 elders, 10 protectors, and 1 outer sect leader. This meant that Yi Qinghan had to find 125 super experts like Muyo Tianchen who could suppress the elites. Xia Qiyu stared at Yi Qinghan and said in a low voice, so many people can't be gathered in one day. Even an 8th rank sect wouldn't be able to gather so many people in a short period of time. Therefore, I suggest that you start with Half Moon City, Eastern City, a total of 18 cities. As long as these 18 cities are stable, the inner sect can rest easy. Yi Qinghan nodded. With Xia Qiue's reminder, the entire imperial domain could be seen clearly. Resources are your fatal weakness. The resources in the imperial domain have been distributed. It's almost impossible for you to snatch them from them. You will cause the other forces to join forces and fight back. Xia Qiue stared at Yi Qinghan and had to remind him. Without resources, no matter how grand your expansion is, it won't last long. Yi Qinghan was silent. Without resources, the sect couldn't develop at all. They couldn't always cooperate with the other races. It was too dangerous. Once the 12 great Saint Royal clans and the royal family joined forces to suppress them, the insane sect would collapse. Yi Qinghan didn't want to be controlled by others. Brother Xia, do you have any good suggestions? Yi Qinghan frowned and asked. In today's endless universe, except for some very dangerous places, the other rich stars have been occupied by the prominent clans and hidden clans. It's almost impossible to establish a huge crazy sect. If I were you, I would build the inner gate and outer gate of the crazy sect in. Xia Qiue pointed to the northeast, at the edge of the human clan's ancestral land, the eternal battlefield. Eternal battlefield. Yi Qinghan's pupils shrank. Xia Qiue's thoughts were really wild. Was he going to occupy the entire imperial domain? That's right. The eternal battlefield is the imperial domain of the ancient times. The ruins of the powerful sects are there. Although it's dangerous, the resources there are countless times more than any other star. It's enough for the insane sect to become a 9th grade imperial sect. The premise is that someone in the insane sect can prove their Tao. Xia Qiue's eyes flashed with excitement. The eternal battlefield is a dead area. If there are experts fighting there, the outside world won't know. If you don't have an imperial weapon, I won't agree with you to build the insane sect there. But you have 2 imperial weapons and the ancestral land behind you. Even if it's closer to the ancestral land, I don't believe that they will risk their lives to fight against the human emperor's guardian sword and the divine martial imperial codex. Xia Qiue's blood was boiling, as if she saw a powerful sect rising. The disciples of the insane sect can rely on the external support to constantly eliminate the dangers. After thousands of years, they will be able to occupy the entire eternal battlefield. With enough resources, there will be no need to worry about people joining the insane sect. Xia Qiue clenched her iron fists and stared at Yi Qinghan. She said in a deep voice, "If Brother Yi dares to do this, I'm willing to give up my position as the crown prince and help the insane sect to build a supreme divine dynasty that surpasses the 9th grade." Yi Qinghan's dragon blood rushed in reverse. He tapped the table with his fingertips and summoned the parrot. He said, "Go and find Nye Tian and Sikong Qingjun." Nye Tian and Sikong Qingjun were old foxes in the eternal battlefield. With their support, the insane sect might be able to conquer the eternal battlefield. This was a terrifying plan. Attacking the eternal battlefield with the power of one sect. Once they occupied it, it would be enough to make the 10 Dao realm holy lands jealous. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.